Clark Road, morning guys, morning to Daniela Williams, Annie Lewis, morning, Angela Madu, morning, Lee Gibson, morning, Sir Brenda Isaac, morning, Pauline Buckmeyer, Macaroni Tony, morning, Sally McNeil, Brenda Isaac, E. Wilson, Alison Rogers, Rhonda Joseph, Jeremy Lewis, morning, Shah, Anna Sisnap, morning, Anna, Francis Batiste, morning, Caroline Cosley, morning, Caroline, Assign Achu, morning, Priscilla Holder, P.F. Cutters, morning, Jackie William, Winston Jones, Neil Francois, always present, Michelle Superwoman, morning, Bill Chapin, morning, Carol Myers, Jennifer Nathan, morning, Rick Fontaine, John Edwards, morning. See, the rain hasn't come by me yet, Carol. Send some for me now. This heat. Adriana, morning, Diane, Leonard Lazari, morning, Alicia Almonde Roche, morning, Winston Chuck, and Bill George, morning, Alison Boyce, Cecilia Sevilla. Apologies for the late start. I'm not going to be on that long today because I had a little accident yesterday. Yeah, so some a lot of pain. I was hoping that the painkiller would kick in before I came on the live. But yeah, what's this thing? Let me get this thing here. Shamma, Alexander, Nicole, Caesar, morning, Nicole. Thank you so much, Natalie. Yeah, Nicole, I was ladder trying to change some bulbs in my kitchen, and so I have a long-standing injury from years ago with my left knee, where my kneecap tends to come out of place sometimes. It hasn't happened in a very, very long time, but I guess when I was coming off of the ladder and I stepped off, and I don't know if it's as I put too much pressure on that knee, and it came out of place and caused me to fall, and I tried to brakes with this hand. Yeah, so pain. Camilla Dean, Marissa Guevara Diaz, morning, Patty Kutu. Right, so let me get straight into it. It's already 11:40. Let's see here. So, one page of today's Express, Harp Place horror. Gunmen kill 5, injure 3 at Port of Spain housing development. And of course, you know, the UNC is only to, well, they would tell them that they're reveling in that, because they would tell you you're fast and out of place. I see the Express has now once again restarted the murder toll count. So far it's 119 for 2024. Apparently for the same period last year it was 121. So like, these guys are hell bent on quota. You know what's interesting was that a couple weeks ago, when the differential between last year's murder rate year to date and this year's was there were about 30 to 35 less murders as at today's date as compared to the same period last year. These newspapers didn't feel inclined to put the toll, to start counting down the toll on the front page, right? Because why? How could we do that? I mean, they are not about highlighting the fact that when good things happen, that the murder toll was actually less than what it was last year. No, now that the gap has narrowed significantly to just by 2, and I'm sure there are some people who are watching that and keeping their fingers crossed and saying their prayers and hoping that by the end of today, we could probably get about 2 or 3 more so that we can run past last year's tally. And these are people who tell you they want to see crime go down, but they're not serious. They're not really interested in crime going down, right? They're happy with the way it is, so long as they and their families remain safe. The murder situation could continue because they figure that is going to give their party or parties the fillip that they need to be able to defeat the PNM come 2025. Yeah? Just imagine that when you open and pray that innocent citizens get killed. Because I'm sure with this killing yesterday, many of the persons who would have died were simply, as they call it, collateral damage. The way these guys are operating now, they're not taking the time to just target the individual that they wanted. So if the person happens to be lining with a group of people, they're just opening fire indiscriminately and shooting with the hope that the person they want to get dies in the hail of gunfire. But if anybody else was there, well, wrong place at the wrong time. Take, for instance, that incident that took place on the highway last year with the Trinidad killer, the Trinidad singer, sorry, who was the intended target. And I think he was the only person who survived, and everybody else was killed, including the woman who just happened to be at her window at the wrong time and pick up a stray bullet and is now deceased. But these guys don't care. They were after one person, but several people passed in the rush, and the murder toll went on. Unfortunate. But we're going to do. But you know, they'll find a way to blame the police. I saw the Doglaya, not when I played. I saw the Doglaya did a live yesterday, and he did one again this morning talking about the state of crime and wrongly this and wrongly that and wrongly. You know, anyway, I don't take these guys seriously. I saw two videos, right? Two videos that were sent to me over the last couple of days, but involving fights. One with two men fighting and the other one with two women fighting. And in both videos, you have persons standing around who simply recording what's taking place, right? But they wouldn't try and part the fight. Instead, they go in, yeah, kill him, kill him. Everybody stand up. Nobody trying to part the fight because everybody looking for likes and shares, right? So in the video with the two guys fighting, see one end up on top of the next one. And it looked as if the one who was on top of the other one was looking for something, a rock or a stone or something to just, so I just see the hand keep coming down and coming down. Fortunately, he didn't find anything. But in the background, you're hearing people saying, yeah, no weapon earlier. Keep it clean, keep it clean. Next one, well, then kill him, kill him. Now, if the fella had really found something and killed the other guy, that would have been one more murder statistic, right? How the police was supposed to stop that? How the police just have spidey sense. Hey, they have a fight taking place in so and so place, but two fellas fighting. And one like you want to kill the next one. Yeah, let me go and stop that fight. And you have a whole set of big men stand up around, recording that. And none of them would say, let me part the fight. You know what I tell you? Yeah, but you get killed from party fight, next thing man had a knife and whatever it is, and I guess that leave it so. Let it come to its natural conclusion. Either they stop fight or somebody dead. Somebody dead. Same with the two women fighting. One, they on top the bonnet of somebody's car, and then one got the upper hand, she picked up a bottle and broke it over the head of the other woman. But you have people going, oh, but you them now, it's serious. That's it. Now, if it is the woman who broke the bottle had decided to take up what was left and stab the other woman and kill her, that would have been two murder statistics, right? Big people stand up around and watching that. They will be passing and they see school children fighting on the pavement. And the first thing they look to do is to take out their phone and record. Yeah, let me record. Watch them, like some animals fighting. But you wouldn't, as an adult, come out your car and try and stop the fight. Tell them, hey, you always stop them. But blame Keith Rowley and blame Fitzgerald Hines and blame Paula Christopher and the police, right? For that. Anyway, I have another if hypocrisy was a person issue to deal with this morning. The misleader of the opposition, Kamala Prasad Bisesa. Let me get this. Let's see. Yeah, buddy. She sent out a press release 2 days ago. And again, as I said, if hypocrisy was a person, if hypocrisy was a party, never a dull moment with these people. Listen to this. Opposition leader. Let me get it here. Right. The fact that a man already on bail for murder was granted bail for another serious crime, despite objections from the police and prosecution, is serious cause for concern. Furthermore, this master of the court's lenient fine of $10,000 imposed on individuals found guilty of possessing marijuana, valued at $3.2 million, and a high-powered rifle demonstrates a disturbing pattern of disregarding the severity of criminal offenses. I call upon the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, the Chief Justice, the Commissioner of Police, and the Director of Public Prosecutions to launch an immediate and independent investigation into this masters of the court's judicial decisions. The only person she can call on is God. The recent actions of a master of the High Court have raised serious concerns about the accountability and effectiveness of our judicial system, particularly in the face of the ongoing violent crime crisis plaguing Trinidad and Tobago. Her most recent decision, as reported in the Trinidad Newsday, to grant bail to an accused individual on a charge of possessing a stolen car, despite said individual being on bail for capital offense of murder, is utterly unacceptable. The fact that a man already on bail for murder was granted bail for another serious crime despite objections is serious cause for concern. She goes on to say, such actions send the wrong message to criminals and victims alike, fostering a sense of criminal impunity and fueling further lawlessness. This master's actions contribute to a pervasive lack of accountability within the judicial system and the absence of consequences for criminal behavior. Transparency and accountability are paramount to restoring faith in our justice system and ensuring criminals are held accountable for their actions. The time for action is now, and judicial officers must be responsible for upholding the rule of law and protecting the safety and security of our citizens. Is Kamla Prasad-Bissessar serious? Is she for real? She is upset because a man who was on bail for murder received bail for being in possession of a stolen vehicle. Right? So he was already on bail for a capital offense, murder. And this master of the court, this judicial officer, had the effrontery to give this man bail a second time for something else. Has Kamla Prasad-Bissessar been playing Rip Van Winkle? Has she been under a rock for the past almost 2 years? This is not the first instance in which somebody who received bail for murder came before the court. This time she upset. Notice that. This is the first time she has sent out a press release. She's upset because a man who was on bail for murder also received bail for another serious crime, despite objections from the police and prosecution. She's on bail for murder and was found with to be in possession of a stolen car, and she fined. He should not get bail. But how many times in the last year have we seen persons out on bail for murder have come before the court on gun charges, were found to be in possession of serious guns and ammunition, right? We're talking high-powered guns. One man was found somewhere in Arima, in a house in Arima, in possession of serious guns and so on, was brought before the court, and he also got bail for that offense as well. Prasad-Bissessar didn't put out a press release there. But you're upset because a man who is out on bail for murder get bail for being in possession of a stolen vehicle? So I didn't say something before when it is that it was happening with more serious crimes. But this should never be an issue. This should not be a topic for discussion. For the simple reason that this man should not have been out on bail for murder. Because for over 105 years, murder was a non-bailable offense. Lawyers and legislators who are long dead, right? Because 105 years ago, long dead, those who were responsible for putting that law into place are no longer around, have been pushing up daisies for many, many years, saw the wisdom in putting that law in place. When the criminal situation, when the crime situation, when the murder situation wasn't what it was, nowhere close to what it is today. And a law that was in place for 105 years. More than two, but two prominent UNC attorneys, one a current sitting senator, UNC senator, and one a former UNC attorney general, saw it fit to approach the court and have the court overturn this law that was 105 years old. And now she's upset. You weren't upset when Annan and Jayanti was doing that. You couldn't pick up the phone and tell Annan, hey, none of that. Back down on that. That ain't making no sense. You weren't concerned when Annan and Jayanti were doing that, what message would they send to the criminal element? What message would they send to the victims? You weren't concerned about that. What message would that send to wider society and the families of the murder victims? You weren't concerned, Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar, about what overturning that law would do. You weren't concerned. So when I read this, the effrontery, the audacity of Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, to put out this, to complain, and she wanted them to investigate the judicial officer, investigate the master of the court. Because how you could give a man bail a second time when you're on bail for murder? Where was Kamala Prasad Bisesa when Jayanti Lakshmi Diyal, just a couple months ago in the Senate, was berating the PNM, right? The PNM for opposing bail, saying not all the PNM know to do their figure. The only way they can fight crime is to put people behind bars and deny people bail. But when it is you deny people bail, you're creating single parent homes. Where was Kamala then when Jayanti was putting out that argument? Where was she? What about the presumption of innocence that Jayanti was talking about? The law, the Constitution affords every citizen the right to apply for bail. When Jayanti was making that argument and the rest of them were thumping the desk in the Senate, yes, give them. Where was Kamala? Interestingly, normally when Kamala Prasad Bisesa puts out a press release, Jayanti would see the need to reshare it on her Facebook page. She didn't reshare this. She didn't reshare this because I guess it's either because, one, she doesn't want to risk being called a hypocrite after defending bail, talking nonsense about single parent home and all them kind of foolishness, right? Either that or maybe she just doesn't agree with a political leader, but this wouldn't be the first person in the UNC who disagrees with a position that Kamala Prasad Bisesa has taken, right? So you upset now. Don't be upset. Don't be upset at all. Yeah, because all the members always say, suppose the man innocent. Suppose he's innocent, but so far almost every single person who has been successful in getting bail for murder has reappeared before the court on some other criminal offense. So I don't know if it is your figure that when they get arrested, most of the time when these guys get arrested for murder, when you look at the rap sheet, as I said, it's longer than the UNC's list of transgressions against this country, right? They're known to the police. It's not the first time that they have been that they've appeared before a court, probably on little minor things before, but some of them have criminal records. But let's still want to talk about suppose they're innocent and what if the police set them up? Well, all right, so don't get vexed now. Continue to assume that the man is innocent of the charge of murder. So don't get vexed. It's always say that, and I'm almost certain it's a UNC lawyer who represented him to get out on bail for murder. And I'm almost certain it's a UNC lawyer who represented him before the court here. On every occasion, when it is somebody who is on bail for murder appears before the court a second time, the prosecution and the police would object to bail. And almost every time we read, they end up getting bail again. So do argue, do vex. The PNM wanted your support for the bail amendment bill. Or let's say no. They wanted us support for the anti-gang legislation. Or let's say no, it's reading like a binary card. They're not arresting enough people under the anti-gang legislation, so it's not working. So therefore, we're not supporting that. So all of the legislation that the PNM has brought before the parliament to prevent certain criminal elements from getting bail, you all have opposed it. So is it what? You all were hoping that when you went to the court and you had them overturn murder as a bailable offense, that you would create a whole new constituency of clients, but you were expecting that you would just represent them before the court, apply for bail, and keep your fingers crossed and hope that they didn't get a bail, but they would still have to pay you anyway for bringing the case before the court? Is that what you all were hoping? Is it that when you all approach the court to have murder overturned to become a bailable offense, that you were of the view that, well, nah, they ain't gonna get them no bail, but they will still have to pay us anyway. Just for bringing the case, we will get paid. But don't worry, they ain't gonna get no bail. So all of a sudden, you all are surprised, but they get in bail. Oh my gosh. Wow. We didn't think they was going to get bail. Really? Listen to her on again, off again partner, Gary Griffith. Let me get this here. Bunch of jokers. It's not this one. Where is it? Right. So he put out a post yesterday talking about the same bail thing to her. A pattern of misrepresentation and poor decision making, which time and time again favors the criminals. The government's focus should be on the ease with which some persons acquire illegal weapons. However, they spend all their time opposing law-abiding citizens from obtaining legal firearms to protect themselves. The Anti-Terrorism Act will ensure no bail for anyone caught with an automatic weapon, and they could be incarcerated for up to 25 years because as it stands now, even if it were discovered who imported the weapons used in today's killings or who drove the vehicle and provided other support, virtually nothing would be done to them, as they would be given bail within 24 hours and then stay out for the next several years, meaning that they are free to kill and maim for another day. The Keith Rowley-led administration needs to stop playing politics with crime and do what is good and right. However, there is no confidence that they will, given their track record of shutting down and dismantling everything which pegs back criminals, including the emergency, and then he goes on to give a whole list. Right. There's the next one. Right? He's the next one. When he was Commissioner of Police, when the UNC said that they're not supporting the anti-gang legislation, which would have seen persons who are accused of being members of gangs locked up without bail and so on, right? And he begged them, he said earlier, don't play politics. And when it is the UNC decided they're not going to support the bill and it failed, what did he say? He hopes that they will be able to answer to their God. This was Gary Griffith saying that. I hope they will be able to answer to their God, right? For not supporting the amendment, the anti-gang legislation and the bail amendment bill. All over the world, you have police officers, police administrations making the point that one of the biggest issues that they have with respect to fighting crime is the issue of bail reform. That when it is you work hard, you spend months of hours and hours and months of hard sweat and tears, as they say, giving up your time, your family time, your free time, trying to catch a criminal. And as soon as you're able to bring charges against them, within a matter of hours or days, they back out on the street, free to commit crime again. Why? Because they get in bail. The last New York Commissioner of Police, on his way out, right, when he was interviewed just before his retirement, was asked what was one of the biggest challenges that he encountered as Commissioner of Police. And again, he said that it was the issue of bail, right? That it was the criminal justice system was a revolving door, that the police working hard to arrest these men for wrongdoing. And as soon as they come inside, they get bail and they back out on the street and the police have to start the whole process all over again. Same thing we have happening here. But you have Gary want to blame the government for this and the government and thing and the government. But he wouldn't tell Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who he hopes to form government with, support the legislation. You say you're not going to sell your soul for government. Well, call out Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the UNC on their foolishness. Call them out because they love to say everything is blame Kamla, blame Kamla, blame Kamla. Blame the UNC, blame the UNC, blame the UNC. So who else you want us to blame? Now that chickens have come home to roost, they open Pandora's box and can't close it back. And now she vexed because people who are out on bail for murder are getting bail for committing other crimes while out on bail for murder. And she vexed all of a sudden. All of a sudden she realizes that that's sending the wrong signal. Because she realizes that people are waking up and seeing what it is they did. And once we continue to stress the point that they were the ones who were responsible for making murder a bailable offense, and the implications of that, so that when a witness comes forward because they have information on somebody who committed a murder, but if it is they know that this person could be back out and could be out on bail within 2 to 3 days, they're not going to give the police no information. So how are the police supposed to do their work? How are they supposed to prosecute this person and lock them up for the rest of their life for committing this murder? When two things can happen. One, they could either come out and kill the witness, or two, the witness is so intimidated that they decide they're not even going to tell the police nothing. And that case ends up languishing there until thy kingdom come. And then it makes it difficult for the DPP's office to be able to bring a successful case. But they thought that was a good idea. That was a good idea. But when it is that we cite things like these to blame them for the state of crime in the country, all they want to do is blame Kamla, blame Kamla. Or them PNM sycophant and them only blaming Kamla, blaming Kamla. Who to blame? Was it Keith Rowley or any UNC or any PNM attorney that went to the court and had murder overturned as a non-bailable offense? Is the PNM do that? And yeah, it's because of the PNM that we don't have the bail bill in force. It's because of the PNM we don't have the anti-gang legislation. And yeah, don't blame Kamla for that. Don't blame Munila. It's Rowley and Hines' fault that this fella was out on bail. It's Rowley and Hines' fault that he get bail again. You know why? Because they pick up the phone and call the master of the court and tell her, hey, get the man bail. They did that, and right. They did that. One shot, anyway. Man of good. So as I said, then what? 10 murders for the weekend. So I'm sure it have plenty of them with the UNC. Fingers crossed, hoping that we could end up with about 15 or 16. Yeah? Just listen to the dog lie. I'm not going to play. Today is not a crazy indulgence moment, so I ain't doing that. But needless to say, as I've told you all before, there are plenty of them on that side. Every morning when they say their prayers and every night. Lord, we need some mass murders. We need about 5 or 6 in one day because we need the figures to go up. Last year they get away. Don't let them get away, they say. But all is okay about the country, right? And this crime situation. Yeah, but blame Rowley and blame Hines. Anyway, hypocrisy knows no bounds with these people. Let me see if it is she will talk about that again. Tomorrow is Monday. Let them have the Monday night forum. Let me see the next crime talk that they have wherever. Let me see if she will raise that as an issue. Complain. Go ahead and complain about that. But I know her handlers will tell her, no, don't talk about that because then people will say you're a hypocrite. Right? Because we are the party that defends bail. We are the party that always out there talking about people have a right to bail and people have a right to bail. When you listen to them on 91.9 on that afternoon program, they call into, yeah, this government, Rowley's a dictator. He ain't want people to get bail and he want to deprive people of bail. Well, okay, give them bail. Assume that they're innocent. Never mind that they have a long rap sheet. But when it is that they come out and bail and all, they clap that. And then the next thing, your family member ends up a victim, hush all them out. Go and start in front of the court when it is that they come up in front of the court for hearing on that matter, for killing your family member. Go and tell the master of the court, please give them bail because the Constitution guarantees them the right to apply for bail, right? And if you don't give him bail, then his children will end up as single parent, living in a single parent home. And then the wife or the girlfriend, she wouldn't be able to get money. Where he get any money from to mind the children? He is any example? He is any example to set? When it is that notwithstanding the fact that you're out on bail, doesn't mean that you could get a clean certificate of character. Just remember that. So, first of all, these guys not interested in any job that requires them to get a certificate of character. They know that is a waste of time. They can't get no certificate of character that says they have no criminal charges or they don't have a criminal record. So they ain't bother. And if it is that they were interested in that type of work, they would have never ended up before the courts in the first place. So they're not interested in that type of job. So this killing that took place yesterday in her place where they're saying that it was reprisal killing for the death of the 11-year-old boy Ezekiel. Apparently they take long. But they finally decided, they know who it is, and they decide to come and deal with that situation. And now, for the sake of the death of one boy, I think at least 5 people dead. Others injured and in the hospital. Right. But these are the people who telling you, put us back in office. We have the solution to crime. Put us back in office and we will fix the crime situation. Put us back in office. Only when the PNM in power. Only when the PNM in office, right? Just remember that the 18-year-old or the 20-year-old, however old she is, because right now they have some confusion. Hannah Mathura, sorry. Yeah, there's some confusion because the autopsy says that based on the length of certain bones and so on, she should have been between the age of 20 to 22. So there's some confusion with respect to that. But anyway, that didn't happen in a PNM constituency. St. Augustine is who? UNC. But you wouldn't hear the supporters talking about, hey, St. Augustine. Right. Then if it was in Diego Martin, if it was in Lavantil, oh, you would not hear the end of that. It was a UNC constituency. Yeah. Right. Because remember in their constituencies, everything is good. Them things don't happen. But anyway, I want to address something quickly. And I said I ain't staying that long today. Right? I was listening to Professor Misinformation and Captain Clueless on Friday. And I heard someone call in to talk about this issue with on Friday there was a debate in Parliament. And I must commend Minister Young for a very erudite presentation. Right? He went to town on the UNC, but also on Mr. Ron Harford, the former managing director / chairman of Republic Bank, who made some rather interesting statements at some meeting, I think of, I don't know, the Chamber of Commerce or something. A very stern statement to the effect that this is our damn country and the government must be held accountable and whatnot and stuff. It is not very often that persons of the ilk of Ronald Harford and the like would come out and condemn an administration, whether it's PNM, UNC, or whatever as the case may be, right? These are the folks who persons see as being above the cut and thrust, right? Because they live in their gated communities and so on. Life is nice. They don't have to worry about anything. The cost of living is neither here nor there with them because these guys sit in pretty for many, many years. Yeah? They are the upper echelons of society. So it was very interesting to read the statement made by Mr. Ronald Harford. And of course, it did not, Mr. Stuart Young did not allow it to go unchallenged. Needless to say. I don't think, maybe I might play it, I'm not too sure. But anyway. So there was a debate in the parliament, and I haven't had opportunity to look at it yet. I just saw some snippets of some things that happened, right? But the leader of the opposition took issue with the government raising the borrowing limits. In fact, she cited the 4 times that the borrowing limit was increased in the last 8 years, and she wanted to know where the money gone and what this government spending this money on and why they need to increase. Let me get this. Let me see if I find it. See if I find it. It's not here. I think I see it. Give me 1 sec. Let me see if I pull this up here. Right? Yes. Don't know how many of you are listening. Government wants higher borrowing ceiling for elections, says Kamla. Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar says she is not fooled by the government's attempt to increase the borrowing ceiling by a further 10 billion, claiming this is meant to facilitate the PNM's election finances. Responding to Finance Minister Call Member's proposal to increase the borrowing limit from 65 billion to 75 billion, Persad-Bissessar questioned why government wanted to increase the borrowing limit for the 4th time in over 8 years. This is the 4th time you are coming to raise the ceiling, in 2015, in 2020, in 2021, and again now. Over the past 8.5 years, this government has increased the debt ceiling by 45 billion, she remarked to loud desk thumping. She added, this is a 150% increase. Where is that money going? There are other debt ceilings. There has been an increase in the statutory limit from 25 billion to 45 billion, while she admitted that the People's Partnership had increased borrowing by $30 billion. Persad-Bissessar said the country could touch, see, and feel the projects which the partnership achieved. Really? Where the projects? Where are they? She then outlined a range of projects which were built under the partnership with borrowed money. Persad-Bissessar also questioned whether the borrowed money was for the benefit of the elite, giving us ideas, or rather give us ideas on what this money will be used for. What project, she asked. She noted that over 300 billion has already been spent. Right. And the government must explain how this money was spent. Anytime a general election is around, you raise the borrowing ceiling. It took 47 years between 1964 to 2011, a total of 14 governments to reach a debt ceiling of 30 billion. But in 8.5 years, this government has increased it by 45. This is a dangerous gamble with our nation's future, and she said under development loans, blah, blah, blah. Right. Let's see what she said here. Right. So she have a problem with how much money the government, now Minister Imbert has indicated, increasing the debt ceiling doesn't mean that we're going to use it. Right? But the facility is there to be used in case we need it to be used. She upset about that. Let me read something for you here. Right? Let me get this here. You see again, hypocrisy knows no bounds with this woman. Let me get this here. Let me read this. This is an article. Well, it's not really an article. This was posted on the UNC's official page, dated December 12, 2015. Kamla, we could have made back pay, or we would have made back pay a priority. I remember plenty of them on that side love to say that when Kamla was Prime Minister, remember she gave 14% back pay raise to the public servants. And Johnny Abraham, the first time he appeared on the Monday night, not the Monday night, the crime talks, sort of praised Persad-Bissessar. Oh, she gave the police 14% and she gave them the back pay in 6 months. Remember he said that, right? Okay. Let me quote straight from the horse's mouth now. This is some article that the UNC put out on their page, right? Their official page. Doubts over back pay commitments to public servants, police officers, and others in the public service is a failure of the Minister of Finance and Government. No one else. This, according to opposition leader Kamla Prasad-Bisesa, following the disturbing statement by Finance Minister Colin Butt. Prasad-Bisesa stated, following 3 months of wreaking havoc with the nation's economic stability, Mr. Mbut is now saying that the government has no money and cannot pay the back pay due to public servants. Which back pay? The same back pay that your supporters are today telling us that you paid when you were Prime Minister? Which other back pay? Because the PNM didn't give any pay raise in the first 3 months of coming into office in 2015. So the back pay she's referring to here has to be the back pay that she left behind, that they have been telling us for the last 8.5, almost 9 years that they paid, right? In addition to the 14% increase, that they paid the back pay. But now, and this is UNC put out this, right? This is not PNM. This is not the newspaper. Prasad-Bisesa stated, right, Mr. Mbut claimed that part of the reason for the failure to meet back pay commitments was due to the overdraft reaching its limit at the central bank. Told that the former Prime Minister stated that inflows amounting to $12 billion were due to come into the Treasury. Mr. Mbut simply claimed that all of the inflows did not come. According to Prasad-Bisesa, TT 3.8 billion was due from the Trinidad Generation Unlimited, 1.5 billion from the NGL IPO, and 6 billion in tax payments. She said, Mr. Mbut's claim that the inflows did not come in and he could not borrow because of maxed out borrowing limits is dubious at best. Even if we assume that the said inflows were legitimately delayed, the minister should have moved immediately to address the borrowing limits so that he would have been able to pay the back pay for Christmas. Prasad-Bisesa added, the Rowley government came to office fully aware of the impact of falling energy prices on the nation's revenue. So even if Mr. Mbut's claims were true, the fact is that it was the government's responsibility to assess our financial situation, find the alternatives, and make appropriate arrangements to meet obligations. This is December 2015, right? PNM came in September of 2015. But she wants to tell you, in 3 months, they were supposed to have done an assessment. Before they came into office, we wanted them to do an assessment for, and you thought that you were going to get a second term? Didn't you manage the economy and the country so well in the 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days that you were Prime Minister? Such that when any administration came in after you, whether it's the PNM or whoever else, they should have had no issues. There should have been no problems with revenue, no problems with money to pay, back pay and everything, because you were going to pay it, right? And you were going to pay it, so you should have left the money in the coffers of the Treasury so that the PNM coming into office should have been able to pay it. So the fact that you want to come out to tell him, but he should have borrowed the money to pay. Why borrow it? Didn't you say you left so much money that when Mbut said that he spoke to Joala Rambaran and Joala told him it only have enough money left to run the country for 3 days, that was a damn blasted lie? And you left money in the Treasury, you left money in foreign reserves, and money in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, and it had money there. And now, in December of 2015, you're telling Mbut what? He should have borrowed and increased the limits. The same thing that he's trying to do now that you have a problem with. I continue. Of the options available to the government, assuming that the said inflows did not come in, Prasad-Bisesa said one option in the short term, until the delayed payments came in, is that they could have used the increased borrowing limits and raised short-term financing in the market to pay the salaries. They could then have subsequently issued a long-term bond to retire the short-term debt if they so chose, or use the delayed inflows when they came in. This would have made available immediate funding to address whatever impediments existed. The failure to meet this obligation is something that would never have been allowed to happen under the administration that I led because we took responsibility. We planned and worked by a clear economic plan. The government I led would never have allowed the nation to pay for a minister's failure, as Rowley and the PNM is now doing. In fact, she said when we came into office in 2010, we were faced with billions of dollars in budget overruns, debts, missed payments, and unsettled wage negotiations. And rather than complaining about it and making excuses, we moved to meet all obligations. The people must always be a government's priority, but the present situation is what happens when you are not ready for the job of government. You spent 3 months doing nothing, making excuses for things you failed to do, and now you are making the people pay the price for your incompetence. The government is clearly not up to the challenge, stated Prasad-Bisesa. So in 2015, December, you're telling Mbut he should have gone and increased borrowing, increase the debt limit, increase the borrowing limits, but today you have a problem. Today you have a problem. The same issue, you said, what you said earlier up in this thing, that they should have done an assessment to see the impact that the falling oil and gas prices would have had. Oil production is down in Trinidad and Tobago, a lot less than what it was back in 2015, right? Oil prices are not what it was when you were Prime Minister. Gas prices are not what it was when you were Prime Minister. So a similar circumstance exists, and therefore you're telling Mr. Imbert he shouldn't increase the borrowing limits. But your government, that took the exchequer account from 10 billion in overdraft to 33 billion, the highest it had ever been in the country's history. Nothing to show for that increase. Aside from all the money, the highest energy revenues in the country's history, you say that your government gets. You still put the exchequer account in permanent overdraft from 10 billion when you came into 33 billion. Today it stands at about 41 billion, right? So in the almost 9 years that the PNM has been in office, they increased it by 8 billion. She increased it by 23 in 5 years, but the PNM increased it by 8. By 8 in almost 9 years. The PNM bought 3 brand new ferries. She bought none. The PNM built 5 hospitals. She built 1. The PNM built the QREP interchange, the Diego Martin interchange, renovated the Magnificent Seven, renovated President's House, renovated the Red House, right? All of these things that they did, they built houses, all these things. They built an airport in Tobago. They paved the road, you name it, all kind of thing. They built police station in Caranage. They built the fish fry in Caranage. Diego Martin Sporting Complex. Diego Martin Health Center. The Diego Martin Administrative Complex for the Diego Martin Borough Corporation. All of these things. About 20-something, WASA has done over 20-something booster stations. Drilling wells all over the place. You name it, all kind of things they do. I don't have the list in front of me right now, all the things that this administration has done for the last 8 years, and only increased the balance on the exchequer account by an additional 8 billion from when they met it. What they met it in 2015, in 8 years. She had the highest energy revenues in the country's history, but an additional 23 billion. But she don't ever talk about that. None of them on that side, all the bright people on that side, don't ever talk about that. All the economists, when the media goes to them for comment on the state of the country's economy, they have nothing to say. Nobody do ever talk. The only person who ever spoke about that issue was Danessa Mahabir, when he was an independent senator and the convener of the independent bench. And when one of the joint select committees of parliament that he was sitting on, I think he was chair or deputy chair, and he raised concern about the balance in the exchequer account and wanted to know how the hell it reached so high. He wanted to know that. To which Mr. Imbert responded, well, you gotta ask Kamala, don't ask me, I don't know. That happened before I came in. None of them ever addressed that, right? Because supporters don't talk about that. But they're always quick to call that station. And they're so bright. They have all the answers and they know everything. So the same thing that she mounted off here, I heard one of them call on Friday afternoon and talking about that, how much 14 governments and all kind of thing, and how much it was and the highest. For the second consecutive year, the PNM has gotten an excellent rating for review from the IMF, right? There has been, looking at today's papers, Express, and I bought it deliberately, and I'm looking for the article written by one Ralph Maraj. His weekly Sunday article. And it is to be noted, for the second time, what is the title of his article today? Most critical election ever. Which election are you talking about? Not Trinidad and Tobago. The US election, coming up in November. The matchup between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Not one word on what the IMF has written about this Trinidad and Tobago's economy and our economic prospects. Last year, when the IMF report came out, on his program with Darian Marcel, when Darian read about it and asked him to comment, and he said, well, you know, I haven't had occasion yet to study it, but I will take some time and I will read what they have said, and I will comment on it subsequently. We're still waiting. The second report has come out. Just like last year, not one word about it. And you will hear not one word about it. In fact, one of the supporters on the debunking page, when one of our admins posted it, the first comment he came up with was, unless he sees an official document from the IMF, that is just PNM propaganda. Well, it took me all of 30 seconds to go and find the article from the IMF's page and post it, right? And then he comes and he says, very interesting read. I hope what the IMF has said here, I hope that it really comes to pass. Cognitive dissonance. It was PNM propaganda until you saw the official document from the IMF. And you can't battle that. You could say it would lie, Rowley lie, this one lie, but it's the IMF. The link is posted to their page. So unless you want to say that the IMF is a PNM party group, or that Rowley and Emwood paid the IMF to write that, that's probably the only thing that they could have said, right? But she has an issue with the government wanting to raise the debt ceiling. Of course, you're going to hear about it over the course of the next few weeks, right? That that is money that the PNM going to use to fight the general election. Because if it is, you start to see work happening, start back on Balize House, you're going to hear that. You see, they raised the debt ceiling because they wanted to take the money to go and build, finish Balize House in case they lost the election. Wait and you will see. That's exactly what you're going to hear. But I wanted to address, in the face of this, and that debate that took place in the Parliament on Friday. As I said, I haven't had opportunity to look at it in its entirety, but I will do so. This issue about the 3 days money, right? And when I heard the guy calling on that program on Friday evening, talking about how, he was having a conversation with his 15-year-old son, and the son said, but daddy, that ain't making no sense. That ain't adding up that matching. Because if it is that they say that the central bank governor tell them it only had enough money to run the country for 3 days, how come where they find the money to do this? And where they find the money to do that? And how come they could buy this and buy that and it only had enough money for 3 days? You see, when you're intellectually lazy. All right. So let me try to provide some elucidation once and for all with respect to that, right? Every year in October, there is a budget that is read. And there's a reason why the budget is read. It is by law, it must be read. The government will articulate in that budget how much money they expect to earn, how much money they expect to spend, whether or not they anticipate a budget surplus or budget deficit, right? Surplus or a shortfall. And how they intend, if they anticipate a shortfall, how they intend to fund that. The law says that the budget must be voted on in the Parliament, and Parliament has to approve the budget. Parliament has to give the government the right to take taxpayers' money in whatever form or fashion it comes and spend it. The Parliament has to do that. That is why in the year 2001, when the snap election ended in a deadlock of 18-18, Mr. Manning was able to run the government for a few months because the budget had been passed. The UNC had passed a budget in October of the year 2001, right? That was the budget for fiscal 2001 to 2002. So therefore, Parliament had given authority since October to spend money for the period October 1, 2001 to the 30th of September 2002. If that had not happened, Mr. Manning would not have been able to govern, notwithstanding the fact that for the 9 months or so, or 10 months that he was Prime Minister, during the 18-18 deadlock, Parliament was unable to convene because the UNC refused to support the election of a speaker. The speaker is the presiding officer for the Parliament, and therefore, since no speaker was able to be elected, because every time they came and attempted to elect a speaker, because it was 18 on both sides, the PNM did not have the majority it needed to elect their choice, who was Max Richards, as Speaker of the House. The UNC, if memory serves me correctly, they had offered Mr. Ganesh, the late Ganesh, or Ganesh Ramdia, right? But the budget gives the government, or rather, yes, so the Parliament gives the government the authority to spend a certain amount of money based on what is articulated. It is unfortunate that in this country, when a budget is read, the only time the majority of citizens even listen is on the day that the minister reads the budget, right? They listen to hear, did the price of fuel go up? They increase pension, right? And if it is, they increase the taxes on rum and cigarette. That's the three main things they listen for. And once that hasn't happened, they're good. They don't care to listen to the budget debate, and they don't care to participate in the Standing Finance Committee, which to me is the most critical aspect of the budget. The budget debate is where you would have the individual ministers coming and articulating what their ministry has done in the last fiscal and what they intend to do in the upcoming fiscal and how much money they intend to spend and where that money is supposed to go, right? And then during the Standing Finance Committee, the opposition has now the opportunity to grill the ministers and the ministries and the technocrats in the ministry with respect to specific items. So you hear them talking about subhead so-and-so, line item so-and-so. So they have these big yellow books with every single thing that the government plan to spend money on and how much money they plan to spend on it. And then you hear them going, well, Madam Chair, subhead so, line item 6. We saw last year they spent $2 million on this, and this year they're now asking for $5 million. Could the minister tell us what is the reason for this increase? And they go through that, and the minister will explain. And if the minister can't explain it, they will ask the permanent secretary to enlighten the minister or whoever else. Any state enterprise that has requested this money, so they might say, well, okay, we see here the EMA requested an increase of 500,000. If the minister is not aware, he will just turn and ask the head of the EMA, what is this for? And they will see. So it's articulated. So that in the year 2014, 2015, right? The budget was read in October of 2014 by the $1 million Minister of Finance, the man who was paid millions of dollars to leave the work in First Citizens Bank to become Minister of Finance. Unprecedented. Only government in the history of this country had to pay a man millions of dollars to leave the work to become a minister. A job that most people will be falling over themselves and will be happy to get for free. When I say for free, you don't have to offer them nothing. Just say, hey, I want you to be a minister. Yes, I accept. But they have to tell you, well, we want you to be Minister of Finance, but yeah, we know you have a nice little cushy job in First Citizens, right? So yeah, we'll give you a little $10, $11 million so you can lead the work. But you're still going to get paid as minister as well. So don't worry. You don't have to touch them millions we're giving you. You will get your full salary as minister and all the other perks as well. So like yourself, no problem. So Parliament would have approved a certain amount of money to be spent between October 1st, 2014 and the 30th of September, 2015. There is something called the mid-year review, where if it is additional monies comes into the government's coffers that they did not anticipate at the time of the reading of the budget, or there is additional thing, the price of some things may have gone up, or during the course of when the budget is read and the mid-year review, the government, decided they wanted to engage in some additional projects or something. Maybe some ministry might want additional monies to fund some project that was not anticipated before. They come back in the mid-year review to request a Parliament for a variation of appropriations, as they call it, right? So we need more money. But the government cannot simply say, well, last quarter we were expecting to get $3 billion in revenue, and we ended up getting $5 billion. So you see that extra $2, we just go in and spend it anyhow. It doesn't work that way. Parliament did not give them the authority to spend that. So they have to come back to the Parliament and ask Parliament for permission to be able to spend this additional monies. That is what you have in the mid-year review. So that would have happened between 2014, October to 2015. Certain amount of money was approved by Parliament. The UNC spent out all that money. In addition, right, so the overdraft that they had and whatever else, exchequer account, the overdraft facility that they had in the central bank and so on, they spend like crazy. Let me give you all an idea. Right, listen to this. For all who don't know 3 days, and would lie, right, Joanna Rambaran, when he told Mr. Ebert, I am going to turn off the tap, you have 3 days money left to run the country. And all who can understand what that meant. So let me give you this. I'm reading here from the Auditor General's Report 2015. Listen to this, right? For 2015, total revenues, the government received $60,550,101,854.86. Total expenditure, $61,967,427,083.32. It is interesting to note that this PNM administration has never crossed the 60 billion marker in the almost 9 years that they've been in office. Never crossed that 60 billion threshold. But that was the norm under the People's Partnership. What they have to show for it. Listen to how the pattern of expenditure went from October 2014 to September 2015. October 2014, they spent 2.9 billion. November 2014, 3.7 billion. December, 4.8 billion. January 2015, 5.2 billion. February, 3.9 billion. March, 4 billion. April, 6.5 billion. May, 4.5 billion. June, 5.045 billion. July, 5 billion. August, 5.24 billion. And September, $10.599 billion. $10.6 billion was spent in September of 2015. Now, the election was on September 7th, right? September 7th was the election. But yet still 10.6 billion was spent in September. Why? How? Because in the lead up, in the 2 or 3 months in the lead up to the general election, anticipating they were going to get the cocktail of their life, they started to give out contracts like crazy. So in case they lost, money done spent, contracts issued. So even if the PNM comes into office, the fact of the matter is that the monies were allocated for expenditure in fiscal 2014-2015, and they know that coming down to the end of the government's financial year, they try to take care and clean up as much outstanding invoices as they can to account for the expenditure for that year. Because if the money isn't spent, it has to go back into the consolidated fund, right? $10.6 billion was spent in September. They were in office for 1 week in September. But give out contracts like mad in the last 3 months leading up to the election. I'm trying to find this article in the Guardian that had come out. I think it was sometime, I can't remember if it was in 2015 or 2020, somewhere around there, which spoke about the legal fees and the briefs that the UNC People's Partnership gave out in 2015, where you had normally legal briefs would take months and sometimes years to be paid. Remember when Anand Ramlogan came in as Attorney General, and all of a sudden, within months of him coming in as Attorney General, you see he buying property all over the place, property in Maraval, property here, all over Port of Spain. And when the media interviewed him and asked him where that money came from, he said, well, as you know, the state has been owing me millions of dollars in briefs for years. And now that I've become Attorney General, all of a sudden, all of these briefs have suddenly been paid. Who authorizes the payment of brief? Ask a silly question. The Office of the Attorney General. So my boy, right, Attorney General, now come in, and all of a sudden, all the legal briefs that the state was owing him, he gets it in a windfall. So he decided to take that money and buy property all over the place. The Greens and Maraval and all over the Meadow and wherever else. House buy. Right? So when they were leaving office, in anticipation, just in case we lost, we have to feather nests because money had to pay. Because, you know, as Munilal says, as a politician, when you come out of office, you're like dog. Nobody want nothing to do with you because you can't help them. You have no power. You can't give them contracts. You can't do nothing, so they want nothing to do with you. So you need to make sure that you feather your nest. So if all you lost, you could still continue to live the lifestyle that you were leading for the past 5 years. Never mind the fact that Jack Warner said when half of them came in, couldn't afford 2 doubles and a red solo, but left office with the pockets deep, own houses all over the place, some of the nicest houses, driving fancy cars, the best of cars, right? Liking themselves. So the monies that were approved for expenditure by the parliament between October 2014 and 2015, they spent it out. So that when the PNM came into office, the election was the 7th of September. Dr. Rowley was sworn in on the 9th. He and his Attorney General was sworn in on the 9th. And then on the 11th, which was the Friday, the rest of the cabinet was sworn in. So Colvin Burt's first official day as Minister of Finance was on the 14th of September. 2 weeks. 2 weeks before the end of the financial year. The government's financial year ends on the 30th of September. But as you know, they usually close off accounts like 2 or 3 days before the end of the financial year. So Mr. Imbert basically had about 14 days or 10 working days, not even 12 working days, because in that, you had the 24th of September, which was a holiday. Parliament convened on the 23rd of September. They had an official opening of Parliament. So really and truly, Mr. Imbert had about 10, 11 days as Minister of Finance before the end of the government's financial year. So the UNC spent out all the money that was approved by the Parliament. And when this administration came in, all they had left was the dregs in the overdraft in the central bank. All the other bank accounts and them were drained. Drained. So when Mr. Imbert had this conversation with the then central bank governor, who told them, I'm about to turn off the tap. You have enough money left in the overdraft to run the country for 3 days. That is what the UNC left. right? So any monies that comes after that, understand, you have to wait. One, until tax money starts coming in for the last quarter. These businesses don't run and pay taxes on the last working day of the month, right? When the quarter ends and they do their books and so on and they determine how much taxes need to be paid, they will come and pay. Mr. Imbert came in about what? Less than 2 weeks before payday for public servants. And so therefore he had to find money now to pay salaries, but not just salaries. Aside from public servants having to get their salaries, you had to pay pension. You had to pay, put money, all who have food card, because UNC Boston, they gave out 48,000 food cards when they were in office. You have to give people disability grant, welfare grant. You have to spend money for GATE, all the students who are outside on scholarships. All of these different things he had to find money for the month of September, right? With just 2 weeks under his belt as Minister of Finance. All of a sudden, so, well, Minister, you realize, yeah, bills due, it's that time of the month. Yeah, this is all the things you have to pay. We had the money for that. Well, you gotta ask the central bank. You gotta ask them for a little blight. Because based on what we see in the account, when we pull up the online bank account, everything dry now. The only thing you have a little crumb, a little small kakada on the overdraft and the central bank. But yeah, that's about it. That's about it. You really have nothing else, just that. Right? So until the taxes started coming, and any other little thing that we're supposed to get, that thing will come in until sometime in the first, second week in October. So right now, your problem is you need to find money to pay these bills for the month of September. You're sure? Well, yeah, I just pull out the online accounts, everything dry. Yeah, the UNC bleeded. It was only lint. The only thing I tell you, we just have about 3 days money in the overdraft. So you better call Joala Rambran and ask him for a lifeline. But Joala said, well, it's 3 days. You want the extension on the overdraft, no problem. We have what you want to put up as collateral for me to give you more money. Right? What? Yeah, we can extend it, but you need to pass something. You say, Mr. Edwards, all right, let me see. What we have there? What about the Green Levy Fund? Nah, forget that. What do you mean? But the UNC pledged that to the overdraft already, that use up. All right. What about the business levy fund? Forget that. Wait, don't tell me. Yes, they leverage that too. They holding that as collateral against the overdraft too. Sorry. But what the hell is this? So you really need to tell me all the bank account empty and the only thing is just these crumbs, that dregs they left in the overdraft? That's all I have? Yes, sir. So my suggestion to you, go to all the energy companies and ask them if they could pay their taxes early instead of waiting until the second or third week in October. Ask them if they could pay it now, if they could give you a little something, a little advance. And Mr. Imber told us that he went knocking door to door to the energy companies and said, "Hi, well, we know it's the end of the quarter and you're all supposed to pay your taxes and so on. But we're in a little crunch, we're in a cash crunch now because the last administration didn't really leave much in the bank account, right? They didn't leave much. They clean out everything. Just all they left is about 3 days money in the overdraft. And the central bank governor said he's not willing to extend anything beyond that, right? Unless I could give him some kind of collateral, and they use up everything we could use as collateral. So they didn't want to pay in advance instead of waiting until the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So just say, come, you're nonsense. All I mean, there is no taxes to be paid. What are you talking about? Didn't you get the memo? With all of the tax concessions that the People's Partnership gave us for us to bring our resources here to drill for more oil and more gas? You have nothing to get until 2024. Stop being silly. Stop being stupid and snack on. Get real. Are you sure you see that memo? No, I didn't. You didn't? Oh, well, can't help you. There's no tax to collect yet. Check down the road now. Call Woodside. See if they are anything. But no, sorry, nothing here either. Call BP. But go from here with that ship talk, okay? Go from here. What did he have to do? Pressure. What to do? I'm going to call up FCB and see if they're willing to lend me a little something. So I could at least pay salaries. And I could at least pay old age pension and so on. Because if their pensioners are getting money, is riot. Call up FCB. So well, here what? The government in a little crunch. The UNC only leave enough money in the overdraft for 3 days. And as you know, budget is next month, right? So any additional monies that come in, we had to get permission from the parliament to spend. So even if it have monies coming in, we cannot, and we don't know when When we're gonna get them whatever taxes from the bank and the insurance companies and all them other private entities and so on, the manufacturing companies, that last quarter taxes, we know we ain't gonna get that for at least a while. So we need a little something. A little something. But then the UNC took out a whole set of short-term loans for 30 days, and loans for 60 days, and loans for 90 days in anticipation. So they took all these short-term loans in the bank, expecting, well, here what? When the money come in at the end of September, early October, we're going to use that, and we're going to pay off these short-term loans. So even that and all, they sabotage. Even that, they sabotage. So when I read Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar talking about they could have really raised the debt ceiling then and whatnot and stuff, even so, they had to convene Parliament. Parliament convened on the 23rd of September, 1 week before the end of the government's financial year. She identified, she said there was money in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, but she knows full well that the law at that time prevented the government from touching the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Could not be touched. Because the law said the only way you could withdraw any money from this fund is if the amount of money that you expected to get in revenue, in oil revenue, falls by, if there's a shortfall of 10% or more. But the only way you will know that is after the end of the government's financial year, when you run your financials and you realize when all the revenues have come in October, the last set of revenues, and you say, well, okay, this is the final count, this is how much revenue we received for 2014, 2015, and this is how much we expected to get. Did we get more or less than what we expected to get? Less? Was it at least 10% less? No. All right. Well, then it doesn't qualify. We can't take out no money from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Forget that. Forget that. And that is the situation that Mr. So when I hear them say, they say it was 3 days money and how they was able to buy this and how they was able to afford that and how they pay for this and how they pay for that. So what you all feel that money is just that the government's coffers is just drive this out? Money is approved by the Parliament. Outside of that, you cannot spend until you come back to the Parliament and get more permission from the Parliament to spend. So that when it is Dr. Rowley announced the other day that the government intended to spend $100 million in the at-risk communities like Laventil and so on, and Kamala Prasad-Bissessar come out and want to know how they could do that, since where that money coming from, because Parliament didn't approve that. More than likely, you will see that coming up in the media review. It will be allocated then when Parliament will give permission and approval for that expenditure. But the government cannot simply come and say, hey, we have money, we go and spend it. It don't work so. Right? So even if you allocate money for a particular project and you decide, okay, we're not going to proceed with that project this year, they can't simply say, well, we were planning to spend $100 million on this project, but we're going to postpone that for 2 years. Take that money and put it here. You have to come to the Parliament and request that that be done. Parliament has to give you approval for that. That is a check and balance to prevent government from spending money willy-nilly. So when I just told you all, $10.6 billion spent in September of 2015. We read legal briefs being given out, briefs being paid settled in the space of 2 weeks. These briefs that normally take months and, as I said, years to settle. Based on that article, which I wish I could find, was telling us you had lawyers who just come out of law school, never see the inside of a courtroom, but getting brief, and these briefs being paid within the space of 2 to 3 weeks. Big briefs for lawyers who have no experience, now come out of law school, never see the inside of a courtroom, and these things being paid, but the supporters ain't talking about that. They're not ready for that conversation. So that when Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar and her cronies take issue with the government now having to rely and increase the debt ceiling, not that, as Minister Imber said, it doesn't mean that we're going to use it. But rather than having to come every time to keep asking and asking, it is there as a facility just in case. Because until all you want road paved, we have to get money to pave the roads. All you want the best roads, the best healthcare, the best education, the best of everything. But the money not growing. The amount of money that we need to pay for these things isn't growing. Dr. Rowley don't have a magic wand that when he wake up in the morning, he just wave the magic wand and money appears in the treasury. It doesn't work that way. Now that I saw I will touch on that at another time. But I just saw someone sent a letter to the editor. I know I had saved it. Again, chastising the government about the property tax and saying that the government, the individual was mentioning, apparently he has a property in the US and he was saying he pays something like 20 something thousand dollars a year in property tax in the US dollars. And a prominent Trinidad and Tobago citizen who happens to be his neighbor pays 108,000 US in property tax. So I suppose he probably, and this person lives in Las Olas. So if you're familiar with Las Olas Boulevard and that area in Fort Lauderdale, it's a very affluent. In fact, most of the properties are on the water, and when you pass by Las Olas there, all you're seeing is yachts. Everybody have a yacht in front of their house. So that is how they didn't really drive, right? When they need to go somewhere, they just walk out in the backyard, walk out on the jetty, right? And they jump on the yacht. That is how they get around that area. So I don't know. I suspect that the individual person may have been referring to may have been Mr. Dupree, who, as we know, has been living in Florida for the longest while, right? We're talking about the government. This government needs to implement a rapid rail system, because if you want people to pay property tax, then you need to improve the services that on offer, and that when in the US you pay your property tax, you don't have to go and sit down in the hospital and wait hours to see a doctor, or wait hours to get attended to. You get attended to one time because you're paying your property tax. Rubbish. But I will read that letter in its entirety in another day. But I just thought I would touch on that, right? That is not true. Because the fact of the matter is, the healthcare system in the United States is mostly privately operated, which is why you are required to have health insurance. That is why under Obamacare, there was at one point in time something called the individual mandate, which was basically a clause in the law that forced you to have minimum health insurance. And if you didn't, you would have to pay a penalty equivalent to a percentage of your household income. So if you had 3, 4, 5 people living in your house and everybody working, they would add up what the monthly salary is for each of these persons, and they would charge the household a fee, which is a percentage of the total monthly income of everybody working in the house, to force you to take out health insurance, to pay. Because they don't have universal health care in the hospital in the US, right? They don't have no Fort Lauderdale General Hospital that is owned by the government. There is no Washington General Hospital that is owned by the government. So you bounce your toe, you're feeling good, you damage your hand, you decide you're going to the hospital for them to take care of you. And when they finish taking care of you, they give you a prescription, and you go down to the dispensary and you go home and all is well. No, expect a bill. You call for an ambulance, depending on which state that you're living in, that will cost you anywhere between 800 US to as much as 2,500 US for the ambulance. But yet still in Trinidad, you hear them. Taxpayers' money. Everything is taxpayers' money and taxpayers' money. And taxpayers paying for this, and I pay in tax, and I pay in tax. Americans pay taxes too. And I can tell you, Americans pay a hell of a lot more taxes than we pay in Trinidad. Well, they're griping out over property tax, and this government only wants to tax, and we don't pay tax already, and we're paying tax and stamp duty. We paying stamp duty. When you buy a house, you have to pay stamp duty on the value of the house, and all that and whatnot. You all don't know what taxes is, compared to that jurisdiction. You all really don't know. As I said, I lecture in estate planning, and we're affiliated with the American College. So I'm intimately aware and familiar with the tax system in the US and some of the taxes that they have over there. Something called, I'm not talking about inheritance tax, she should come back with that chop and talk. Ask her where she get that from, right? Ask her where she get that from. Same place. We know where her sources are and what her sources are. She come back with that chop and talk about inheritance tax. So guess what? Over there, you have what is called estate tax. You have the federal estate tax, which is a tax that is imposed on your right to transfer property. Not the property itself, no. The right to transfer the property. So once you have anything called incidents of ownership in that property and you die, it is part of your estate. So you have to pay tax on that. You feel like when I say, well, when the man buy that house, he pay tax, or when he bought that car, he pay tax. Now I hear them talking about Philip Alexander talking about when you buy a house, you have to pay tax and you have to pay VAT. And when you buy a car, you have to pay VAT and all that. So you don't pay tax on that already. And the government want to come and tax you again. Why you don't tell the same US that all you love to talk about? Half all you who complaining now about the state of Trinidad and Tobago and the taxes here. And all you looking to pack up and migrate to go where? To the US? The same taxes that all you're fighting here, you have that up there and plenty more. There's something in the US called gift tax. A gift tax, a tax you pay on giving gifts. I think the limit is either 15 or 16,000 now. So if it is that you give gifts to any one individual in excess of $16,000 for the year, for every dollar over that 15 or 16,000, you're required to pay taxes on that, right? Gift tax. You have something called a generation skipping transfer tax, where every time property transfers from one generation to the next, you have to pay tax. And if it is you try to pull a fast one and you say, well, here what? I own a property and I want to transfer it to my son. And one day my son will transfer it to my grandson and then it will go to my grandson. But instead of me transferring it to my son and I had to pay tax, and then when he transfers it to my grandson, he has to pay tax. And then when my grandson transfers it, he has to pay tax. I will just give it to my grandson as an inheritance. You have to pay tax on that. You see, you try to skip a generation, there's something called a generation skipping tax that you have to pay for that. They have federal estate tax, state debt tax, all kind of taxes that you could think about. And they have property tax too. And these property taxes are levied on the value of the property, not on the annual rental value, the actual value of the property. So we have it easy here. So when Mr. Embert say you're charging only a 2% or 3% tax on the annual rental value of your property. Over there, let's say your property valued at 2 million, you're going to pay a percentage on 2 million, not on any annual rental value. But the same people, costing Rowley and thing and whatnot, in the morning, get them a green card now, they're gone. Get them citizenship, they're gone. And they will go and pay all of these taxes without complaint, without let or hindrance. Over there, don't pay your taxes. Now they seize your house in an instant. You own $500, $1,000, but they seize your house. All these foreclosures that you see, they're okay. And there's no obligation on their part to sell the house for an amount to compensate you. But we complaining. Oh yes, Rowley wicked and Rowley evil. Right? It's because of Rowley the cost of living going up. Rowley send up the price of fuel. Rowley send up the price of food. I'll read something else here for you. It seems like the boycott against KFC and Prestige Holdings has now come to an end. Why? Because KFC decide they're bringing back the pumps. Yeah, they're bringing back the pumps. So, before COVID, when you go to KFC, you order your stuff, and when you get it, you could have walk across to the counter and drown the chicken and the fries in ketchup and mustard and pepper. And then with COVID, they removed that. That's when it was first removed, right? For safety reasons, because if everybody who have COVID and who come in to touch the pump, and then somebody else, because they can't be wiping down the pump every time. So they removed it, and then they were giving us your individual packets. And then after COVID subsided, they never bothered to bring it back. And so that was one of the complaints people had. So KFC decided we're bringing back the pumps. So now, guess what? The pumps are back. So when they come to KFC to purchase, notwithstanding your boycott, you could now walk across to the counter and drown the chicken and the fries in ketchup and mustard and pepper again. And everybody happy. As Inshan Ishmael put up on his Facebook page, look what we were able to do. What were you able to do, Inshan? A boycott so that you could get back the pump for mustard and ketchup? And that is something to celebrate? Well, here, what somebody nominate Inshan Ishmael for a national award now. Nominate him for an award. That is an achievement that is unprecedented. You get KFC to bring back the container. Well, it's jokey, yes? Anywho, let me see if I get this thing here. Where I have it? So, I saw Jenny posted up something recently. Just give me 1 sec, let me find this here. So, let me get this here. Right. Cost of living in the US, cost of living here. I just want to touch on one thing. I'm seeing here, this is Walmart online if you want to order, right? Corned beef, 12 ounces, $10.40 a tin. 4-pack. Great Foods corned beef, 4-pack, 12-ounce tins. This is what we buy here, but we measure it in grams, so it's 340. $15.52 US. Price Mart, you can buy 4 cans of corned beef for $65.95. In the US, it will cost you about $108 for 4 cans. But you get in 4 cans, $65 in Price Mart. But they want to blame Rowley for the increase in the cost of living. Rowley do that. Most of the food that we import into this country right? We import it. So it's coming from outside. It is not made here. These are the kind of prices that people are paying in the US. In Walmart, which is perhaps the largest supermarket chain in the US. And these are some of the prices that you pay for that, right? I went to the grocery store this morning, and the most expensive tin of corned beef that I saw was about $26, which is the Grace brand. Grace corned beef. You see? So how do I show it? You see this, right? This is Walmart. Right? See the price? See the price, right? $12.03. 340 grams. Look at it. Look at it. $12.03. This is on Walmart's website if you want to order online. Multiply $12.03 by 7. $84. One tin. $84. The same Grace and Massey. Yeah, $26. But $84 when you do the math. I just thought I would give that as an example. As someone who travels frequently to the US, every time I go, I notice the increase in the prices of goods at Walmart, Publix, Costco. I can't remember the name of the other one. You see the increase in prices, people over there balling too. Prices going up. Oxtail is Mr. Oxtail over there. These things are very expensive. They pay tax over there too. You hear them saying it's because of Joe Biden that the cost of living going up. It's Joe Biden. A lot of stuff that is manufactured in the US is more expensive than if we bring it into Trinidad here. But Rowley wicked. Rowley is an oppressor, right? Rowley only suffering poor people because the price of everything going up. I didn't know Keith Rowley had a grocery, right? I didn't know Dr. Rowley had a company that imports stuff into the country. But the problem is we have too many people in this country who don't travel, right, to see what the cost of living is outside. So they could yap and run them out here, not understanding what exists outside and how good some of you all have it here. But you know what? All who supporting Prasad Bisesa and who supporting whatever unholy alliance they come up with in 2025, I remind you that as the lead party, as we saw what happened in 2010, they had the partnership manifesto, which was basically the UNC manifesto, right? The UNC manifesto. And I've told you all before, and I will repeat it. The UNC loves to make an issue about the country's foreign reserves and how under Rowley and Imber, the country foreign reserves fall in. That when Kamala left office, it was 11 billion. And now today it is about 6-point-something billion dollars, right? Because no foreign direct investment and the energy sector decimated. And we are making no money from the energy sector and the country's foreign reserves depleting. And now they're saying, someone put us back in office and we will remove the 7% online tax and put us back in office and we'll remove the property tax. Yeah, we heard that song before in 2010. We didn't do it. But that's what they're telling you. But you know what's the biggest problem with some of these citizens in this country? Is that they don't read. So all they will listen to the Monday Night Forum and all the public meetings they will have and listen to what they're saying, but not what you all don't go to look at what they're not saying. It is in their manifesto, and I've said it before, that the UNC intends, if they come back into office under the leadership of Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the intention is to allow the country's foreign exchange rate to slide, which means the TT dollar will become very expensive. Well, the US dollar will become very expensive against the TT dollar. So right now, for the last 6-7 years, we've been enjoying an exchange rate of about 6.79 TT to 1 US. They have it in their manifesto written in black and white that they will allow the exchange rate to slide using a crawling band. That's what they say. They are not prepared to maintain what is called the dirty or managed float, which the current PNM administration uses, where they use the country's foreign reserves to provide supply so that the exchange rate wouldn't go beyond 680. This was a policy decision that was taken by the Rowley administration even before they came into office, where they had announced that if it is they were to win the election, they would be prepared to allow the exchange rate to slide to 679, 680, and at that point, the government will intervene and using the country's foreign reserves to defend that exchange rate. So if we're letting cost of living high now, wait until you all put Kamala back in office in 2025. And they follow through on that manifesto promise. Because they only about increasing foreign reserves, building up reserves and just have it sit down in the central bank. So they could beat their chest and say, yes, when Rowley left, the foreign reserves was 6 billion. But under us, it's now gone back up to 11 and 12 billion. And the country needs the money. The country needs you to use that foreign reserves to defend the exchange rate so we wouldn't be paying 10 TT to 1 US. And with an import bill, a food import bill right now of about 5 billion will go to 8 and 10 billion. But all you see nothing yet. Don't worry. Call up that program on that radio station and talk about Rowley wicked and Rowley oppressing the poor and Kamala, all you who was cussing Kamala between 2010 to 2015, and Dr. Rowley was the best thing since sliced bread. People like Love in the House. He needs to change his name to Hate in the House or Dotish in the House or something. Right? When we were on the Sunshine Hour, he used to be calling us day after day to cuss us out because we defended and we trying to promote Jack Warner. And Dr. Rowley is the savior, and Dr. Rowley this and Dr. Rowley that. Today he has nothing good to say about Dr. Rowley. Not one good thing could come out of his mouth. And Kamala, all of a sudden, Kamala is the best thing and he can't wait for Kamala to come back. Well, all right, go ahead. Go ahead. Right? Because all you're only talking based on what all you hear on Ground Report and what you all hear on Douglaya Politics and what you all hear on the Monday Night Forum and the Crime Talk. But you ain't taking the time to go and read the manifesto. So when it is, all you put them back in office, put God out all it all because me like Rowley and me like Imbert because Imbert increased the price of fuel 3 times and we are right yet. So I can't vote for them. Go ahead. Do that. And when it is, you see, they start to unleash all of these foolish economic policies. And I cry shame on all of these economists who always have plenty to say about the management of the economy under Keith Rowley and Coleman Booth, but wouldn't take the time to go and go through the UNC's manifesto to tell the people what they could expect. In fact, in 2020, 2 noted financial persons, Indira Sajiwan and Mariano Brown, both said that the UNC's manifesto was pie in the sky. Pie in the sky, wishy-washy. Right? It makes no sense when you go through that and talking about they want to increase, they will instruct the central bank to increase deposit rates and all of that. Shows a total lack of understanding of how that works and the impact it's going to have on the economy. But they're talking that, no, the supporters are talking that, but go ahead, put them back. And all these manifesto promises that is official government policy, when you see they roll it out, and all you start to feel the pinch, don't expect me to come here and talk for it. Just remember, I told you so. Just remember that. I told you so because I take the time to go and read the manifesto. The garbage that is inside it and all the things that they plan to do that they think could fix the economy and will have the complete opposite effect. So all those of you who contemplating going and take mortgage today, prepare yourself. Prepare yourself for the irresponsible people who plan to dip their finger in the ink and ram it up to the elbow for the UNC to put Kamala back there. If they succeed, all you who going and take out mortgage between now and the next 12 months, prepare yourself to see your mortgage rates go up significantly. So that when you budget to pay a certain amount of money for the month as an installment, bet your bottom dollar you're going to see your interest rates go up. Yes, your mortgage rates go up. So you'll be paying more. So prepare yourself. Make sure you start to build a fund from now to put on that extra money to account for. Right? Just remember that. Don't say I didn't tell earlier. On this, what is today? The 16th day? The 17th day of of March. Don't say I didn't tell earlier. It is right there in the manifesto. If you don't believe me, all you have to do is to go and Google the UNC National Economic Transformation Plan. And it is all right there in black and white for you to read and see for yourself. The intentions that they have to privatize almost everything. They cost out, Dr. O, they only want to sell out the assets and sell out assets. But everything they have inside it, private sector. The private sector will be invited to do this, and the private sector will be invited to do that. And the private sector will be invited to take over the management of several state enterprises, and the government will benefit from taxes and dividends. Put state enterprise into the hands of the private sector, and all you know when you talk private sector, the first thing they do is restructure. And when the word restructure comes up, what is the first thing that happens? People get sent home because salaries happen to be the largest expense. Look at what is happening with the banks, trying to force everybody now to do banking online so that they could close down branches and send people home because they don't want people in the banking hall. So almost every transaction that you would normally come and stand up in the line to do, you could do it from your phone. Now all of these banks telling you if you don't have an account with them, what used to obtain years ago, somebody give you a check and you just go to the respective bank and you stand up over the counter, you get them your ID and they cash the check and give you your money. Now they're telling you we can't do that. You need to have an account with us. And if you don't have an account, you need to go to your bank, deposit the check and wait for 4 working days for it to clear. So after you work hard and looking to get your little kakada you pay because you have bills outstanding, you need to go and buy groceries. You come on a Friday afternoon now and they're telling you, well, sorry, sir, you need to have an account with us. No account? Well, all right, you need to go to your bank and deposit the check and it will take 4 working days to clear. So you have to wait until basically the following Friday now to get paid after you work so hard. You don't know how you're putting food on the table, how you're sending your kids to school, or how you're paying passage for the next week. So they tell you open an account and tell the person who paid you to pay you via ACH, do a bank transfer. Right? But even if their bank is different to yours, it could still take 2 days or so. And worse yet, if it's Friday, you mightn't see that money until Monday afternoon, Tuesday morning. Right? The same Rowley, and they want to say oppressing. That's what they say. With the banks now. Another thing that they're doing. So they're giving you 50 cents in interest and charging you $15 in service charge at the end of the month. And if it is you don't have sufficient money in your account to cover that service charge, they put in your account in overdraft and charging you an overdraft fee of $34 and some. Well, I know that is how it used to be in a particular bank. I don't know if those fees went up. Right? So they put in your account into overdraft, and your account went into overdraft because they took the service fee and you didn't have enough money in your account because you're probably working from paycheck to paycheck. So as soon as money come in, money come out. It's to pay your bills. So any money that come in, they make sure they take the service fee, the overdraft fee, the service fees, and any other monies that you owe in them. Right? All this they do it. You know what Keith Rowley said early when he came in? The banks digging out the eyes of the citizens of this country, making supernormal profits, billions of dollars every year, by digging out the eyes of this average citizen who have the little kakada there and who have to pass their money through the bank. They have a choice. So Dr. Rowley said, well, here what? Since the bank's doing that, I can't tell the banks what to charge because we're in a free market system. But you know what I can do? I can increase the tax rate that they pay. And so I will take a bigger chunk of their profits and give it back to the citizens by way of the services that the government offers, right? So instead of they paying 25% tax as they were paying under Kamla, if you're a bank, 35% in your ways. And other companies that making over $1 million in profit for the year, 30%. You know what Kamla says in her manifesto? Put me back, and I will reduce the tax rate that these entities pay from 35 and 30%. I will bring it down to 18. I'll cut it in half. So she's saying, you know what she's saying? I will allow and continue to allow these banks to dig out all your eye, but I will take less money from them for doing it. So where's Rowley penalizing them for what it is that they're doing? He can't tell them what to charge, but he can certainly ensure that whatever they take from you all is paid back to you all in some way through the treasury and through the services that the government offers. Kamla is saying that. Reading their manifesto, all they're talking about is cutting government revenue. They're going to reduce that, reduce corporation tax. They want to reduce this tax and remove that tax and everything. But how they plan to earn the revenue to replace the lost monies from these taxes, God alone knows. But nobody asking them questions, eh? Nobody asking that question. Yes, they're gonna reduce corporation tax. And here her logic. When it is that we cut corporation tax, the money that the banks and these companies saving in taxes, they will use it to reinvest in their businesses and expand their businesses to do what? To create jobs for the poor. To create jobs. That's what she said. Create jobs for the poor. In other words, when the rich get richer, they create opportunities for the poor. But she said it in a different way, not as direct as Dr. Rowley said. And Ole give her an applause for that. But want to kill Dr. Rowley and rake him over the coals. And here Rowley said the rich must get richer to create opportunities for the poor. But he is not about giving them more money in their pocket. He is not about reducing the tax rate that they are paying so that they could keep more of their profits. He's not about that. If Ole want to get richer, the money that is left over in profits after the government gets its share, take that and invest it in all your business. Do that and expand all your business. That's what he said. Come not say no, come. Ron Harford. Yeah, come Nigel Batiste. Come Lyndon White. Come. Calendar Basie, come here what? Instead of you all paying us 35% in tax, you will only pay 18, right? So keep that additional 17 and you could reinvest it in your business. Yeah, or you could give it to your shareholders as dividends. That's what she said. And meanwhile, when you see a bank statement, when you want to push your card and all you're seeing is a minus and want to know what went on, then when you're going inside the bank, they tell you. Right. But your prime minister saying, your prime minister wannabe, telling you all. Right? But she said, also, they're going to continue what they started in Shagaramas. All the lands that they were giving away to the same so-called 1% that they don't like. They're going to give away, continue that exercise. So all of you all who march from Shagaramas to the waterfront in the hot sun, that was just an exercise to get exercise. That's what that was. An exercise to get exercise. So all your sweat. But it was a temporary reprieve. But put her back. And she intends to continue that exercise. So all them boys and them down Guave Road, them farmers and like Richie and all of them, whose crops they bulldoze and chuck it up in a corner on that big tree and tell them go and sift through and see what all you could salvage. Because we given Mr. Abood this piece of land here so he could build a car park for his water park. We ain't care about all that. All ain't making no sense. Right? So you see all them okro, all them dashin and all them things. Yeah, it up in the corner there, we bulldoze it, one dig through, see if you could sift through and where you could find out. Yeah, but the have a car park come in here. Well, don't worry, I sure the boss man go give all your work. All they could watchman the car park. That was them. That was their answer. And it clearly states in the manifesto, put them back, and they're going to continue to do just that. Or you could see what all you want. Or you could talk from now till the cows come home. Land given away in Shagaramas. And who are they giving it to? Not me. They ain't giving it to people who looking like me. Right? They ain't giving it to those of you who listening here. The same people they cussing and they have a problem with. Government announced that they're going to build a new headquarters for the Ministry of Social Development on Chadwick Road. Right? Where the old Printry building used to be. I see the Douglaya decided to do a live at Doubles and Coffee to talk about the government going to spend $145 million to put up a building, a head office for the ministry, when they could take that money and increase the amount of money that they're giving people on food card, and increase the number of food card, and increase this grant and increase that grant. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, the head office is currently resides in a building that is owned by Zaman Enterprises, a building owned by Faris Al-Rawi's father-in-law. Right? The same people who all the time want to tell you how much building, how much rent Faris getting every month and how much rent Faris, you would think they would be happy that the government has decided to construct a building that would see the rent being paid to Zaman, the Faris family, will cease for that building. No, they come in to tell you that 145 is a waste of money, that they shouldn't build it. So continue to rent, continue to pay money into the coffers of Faris family so they could come and so they could talk about that. Well, that building cost is due to cost $145 million to construct, right? They spent $120 million to outfit same Faris building down on Alexander Street, number 1 Alexander Street. $5 million for security, $43 million in rent. For 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days, and never use it. $168 million was spent on that building. and it never used in the 5 years that they were there. But he wants to come and complain they're going to spend 145 to build a whole brand new building that will be owned by the state, no rent to be paid to any individual. So no one family going to eat a food and drink a juice. That is a state-owned building. Your taxpayer money will be going into building your building. That is yours. Them have a problem with that. They have a problem with that. You know why? Because as Kamala said, we show we all spend the money on. We want to see. What they spend. It had, when we were in office, we built things that you could feel and touch and see. Well, this government building plenty things. Come up to Omera Road and see what is happening on Omera Road and what the proposal is. Come and see all the work that is taking place there. The highway going up to Toko, phase 1 already finished. Come and see. But they're asking where the money went. Well, they can't be serious. Tell us, Kamala, how much money has this administration have had to pay in interest on loans that you took to build the Cuba Hospital, to build the Aquatic Center, to build the Cycling Center, and practically everything else that all you built. So don't come and tell us nothing about, oh, your government spend the money and all you build things. Half of what is all you built was paid for with borrowed money from the Chinese, and this government now has to be repaying those loans. So miss us with that BS, please. Miss us so that you could sell that to the waterfront ilk, who don't know the assembly from the elbow. Gone down by the waterfront. We come to support she. We supporting the Prime Minister Kamala. Yes. Do you know what is being debated? Everything good. Everything good. Now, actually, well, Mr. Awai, Region 23, he bring we here. You have a blasted clue. But already, we come to support Kamala. We ain't supporting Rowley. It's only yellow, boy. It's only yellow. For the good we. 770-1763. I said I was just saying longer, but I don't know where I live. Jokers. So it's to be. Jenny. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, Dominic.
Hey, Jen.
Good afternoon, also tuning into Facts System. One thing. I said, like, you want to take me over with the acting or? This morning, you would have explained in totality what Kamala Prasad and they would have done with the money, why Jalala Ramaran was able to save the country when he has money for 3 days when Dr. Keith Christopher was already paid and came into office. And that brings me right back to what deceased McCandle Lara said. He said they were spending money as if they were inventing it from the treasury and as if they had a right to spend it. It brings me back to what Abdullah said from MSG. He said he told her about corruption. She said she knows about it, but she can't do anything. And he said because of that, she's corrupt. I'm going back to what you said again, that talking to people, and then when they finish, next day goes for election. Well, I don't like Rowley, I don't like this, and put it for camera. I want to tell people something, huh? You ever hear coulda, shoulda, woulda? That when we vex about something, I'm not saying you don't have a right to be vexed, but because we have emotions. But when you vex about something and then you go and make a decision based on how you're feeling at that time in those highly charged emotions, and when that emotion subsides, your anger, your stress, and everything subsides, you sit down and say, you know, I could have do something different. You know, I should not do that. And that's why I'm telling people, 10 to 25, exercise emotional intelligence, meaning exercise the way that you treat the anger and whatever frustration you have. Wait till that subside and then make a decision. Because you don't want to find out that you're so vexed about whatever happening to you personally. Yeah? Sometimes it's not the country, you know. It's you personally. And based on that, you go to the voting booth and say, I gave them a chance. Or I say, I'm not coming out to vote because all of them is the same. And then we end up in that situation you just outlined here, and end up worse than where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
We are seeing what Dr. Rowley and this government has done with the money. We're seeing it. People seeing it, but because of the anger and they don't like this one, that one, refusing to acknowledge what they say. I want to acknowledge what Kamala and they didn't do. And you know what Kamala and them did? Give away a contract. A company that is in Brazil that is on charges of money laundering, alleged money laundering, and corruption. Give them a contract in this country to build Portfolio Hospital. They didn't finish it. They had a contract with a bond they put down. On the election, 2015, Kamala Persad removed the bond, that contract from the bond, where this bankrupt company who on charges in Brazil could take back the $1 billion. Kamala Persad again, and our government give a contractor how much millions to build the Bitam wastewater project. It is finished, and he gone with millions of dollars of taxpayers' money. The crab interchange was costing so much, peace fall apart and all that. We didn't get no value for the money. Dr. Rowley and they came in, did back that same project for less money than the UNCPP had budget for it, and we get that finished.
And we got we got two interchanges for the cost of one.
Exactly. Then the railroads that has been there like an eyesore.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Rowley and the government came and finished it. Everybody's seeing it now. Tourists coming and walking and watching it and take pictures. The Magnificent Seven, the President's House. It's finished. It was there for years. I saw under Kamala Persad when they was paying money for the president to get some, Kamona was getting some housing thing when he was already house and we hold back and all of that. We seen the President's House, it finished. Tourists walking around and watching it and taking pictures. All the projects happening. You see the live, not live sport, because that was not that sport. Under Ministry of Development National Services, that same watery mouth one want to be talking now. He was the Minister of Sports and Youth Affairs. He wanted nothing to do with the youths in this country because he didn't want the youth department under that ministry. They sent that department across the gender under Verna St. Rose, and he was just dealing with sports. They want to talk now about the young people. Kamala Persad want to talk about crime. When she on lawyers and then from she party went to fight for the right of murderers to get bail. No murderers could get bail. You're complaining because a murderer get bail, commit a crime, and he get bail again. If he did never get bail in the first place, he would not be able to commit no crime.
Correct.
So you have to blame yourself, Kamala. You have to blame your lawyers, Kamala. And so much thing happening. And if people want to kill, say they're so vexed to the PNN, and next year they're going to give Kamala a chance, or they don't like all yourself, or they don't like all your generation. We heard Tande say, Jack say she for a long drunk and Gandhi statue. We heard about the drink and the drunk and the vomit. We all of us heard it. We saw on a stage drunk, because that is what on YouTube, when you look for that video, it said drunk Kamala. And we come on here, not Philip Alexander say he was a paraphrasing, he was the cleanup man. That plenty time Jerry Hadid called him and said, God, come now. The woman's drunk and she's singing. And only one that is a prime minister in this country because all the feelings hurt. Look at the sister all over now making live supporting Kamala Persad sister. I don't have no problem, they help you. But how that come out easy for you to tell we don't vote for PNN? They do something personally for you. Be happy about that. Why are you trying not to influence me? When you and all say you were supporting PNM all the time, and me have been one of the persons who voted in 2015 to remove Kamala and them because of the corruption scandal and all the things that was going on with them. And you tell me because they're helping you now, you want to tell all the way in this country, them is the party to vote for? No, mommy, you're wrong. Mommy, you're wrong. Get your help. That is your business. I'm happy for you. Don't sell yourself and try to sell we because you get something from them. That is a personal thing. You're not looking at the wider population. You're not looking at Trinidad and Tobago. Kamala is a person wanted the America to put sanction on we. And they're always glad and happy when they see crime in this country. Look at Gary Griffith and this FUL, and nothing like the Prime Minister till late in Parliament, because Justice Stanley John said when he did his report, it was a well-oiled criminal enterprise. But he giving out guns and the kind of bullets. You as a commissioner, police former, and a soldier and a captain who went Sandhurst and who is the best in this and best in that, you should be happy to get that report laid so we could get to the bottom of this thing and try to solve crime in this country. Again, I'm talking to people, and you correct, all they want to do is stupidness and expect Dominic to come to talk, and Juliet Davy, or Michelle Felix, or anybody else on Facebook who does be putting up the post showing what good old government doing and all that. And then go and do foolishness and expect them now to come back again to talk and tell only what. All you have a choice to make. It is on our shoulder to save Trinidad and Tobago from UNC ever coming back into office, especially under a leader like Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Especially, I say it again, under the leadership of Kamala Persad-Bissessar. All you think about it and use all emotional intelligence wisely. Dominic, have a blessed week ahead, and all those who listen, have a blessed week ahead.
Thank you, Jen. Hello, good afternoon.
Dominic.
Yes, sir.
What's going on?
All is well.
Look your partner.
Yes, sir.
Dominic, I have a question to ask you. You know, it's only you I trust that ask questions. Does Venezuela have a gun factory?
They have a what?
Does Venezuela have a gun factory making guns?
A gun factory? I know they manufacture guns there, yes.
Huh?
They manufacture guns there.
That's a yes?
Yes.
Don't answer that. I will leave it here.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord.
Hello, good day. Hello.
Hi, Dominic.
Yes,
good
sir.
afternoon. First, I want to wish Daniela a happy birthday.
Yes, Daniela Williams. Yes,
and
happy birthday.
PF Cutter. The number is 770-1763. That's Dominic number. 770-1763. Dominic.
Yes, sir.
Well, boy, if the majority of the people listen to your program and make that decision, well, I don't know what's wrong with Trinidad yet. Because when they was trying to win in the general election going here, they talk about UTC, unit trust. If they didn't get that, they would have lick up that like how they lick up NGC and all those different programs that left the country with 3 days' money. So the people of Trinidad and Tobago better know what they're doing, because what will happen to us is straight back. We will head to the IMF, and our country will be a mess if UNC ever wins. Because let me tell you something. I sit down here and I talk to Dr. Rowley and him. But the PNM is an institution, bro. Because to bring the country back from where it was, when COVID strike zero, them fellas stockpile the oil, know that it will last forever, the country will open back, planes will be flying, people will be traveling in cars, the gas price will go back up. Venezuela sell the oil to China at a cheap price with the COVID, and we store and bunk, and that's what bring back our economy. So again, Dr. Rowley, her brains in touch yet, is a transformational leader that leads our country the right way, and I only hope. A lot of people be telling me that we have some uneducated people in Trinidad, but I only hope they don't make that mistake like what they do in 2010 and 2015. Even Daga tell them, you never see corruption like that. And that will happen again because they're trying to get themselves a pass out of jail too. Because they have a lot of things happening in the EMB. Just telling you, they never see backdoor deal like a cartel. When she take the 3 months time in election, they were giving no contract with no kind of record, bruh. How people would do that again to put our country back in a situation like that, bruh? Look at Port of Spain revitalization. They leave Port of Spain to run down. She never going to Port of Spain and do nothing. Leave the Red House. Leave the President building. But tourist attraction to come into your country to go and see your national buildings to them. Yeah, look, the man trying to bring it back. He bring down the workers back. He bring down the government building all day, putting up things to revitalize Port of Spain. And that would the East Corridor go take brainwash some guy, and then Robert to them who don't have a clue to run Trinidad and Tobago. It will be fighting, and well, it will start from the top and trickle straight down, so it will be worse crime rate. Only have a good day, man. Right?
Thank you.
Enjoy your day, Daniel, and enjoy your birthday. Okay.
Yes, so happy birthday to Daniela Williams. Daniela is an avid listener, so I hope.
Good afternoon.
I hope it's an enjoyable one, Daniela. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Didn't Jack go on Merchants Junction and said you were so drunk you fall on Danny statue? That is a record, Kamala. I didn't say that. As Jack said that. Do you have the guts to want to say that Jack said about you? And the PNN party is the best party to take Trinidad because of the morass and out of the nonsense and out of the stupidity that passes the governors in Trinidad and Tobago. You see, Dominic, good afternoon to you, good afternoon to the listeners and the viewers of this program. This is the words that these people have put in the minds of people in this country. And I am the firm opinion that next year, God's willing, that right-thinking citizens in this country will adhere to these sentiments that Rodney Charles said and the late Prime Minister Basil Pandey said. Right? Because at present, as we speak, the leader of the opposition, Pushwati Kamla Sushila Pustad Bisesa, is an ultimate failure in this country. You lost 16 elections in this country, 12 elections and 4 petitions against the call for election, right? And this one coming around here is people in sit down and understand where we are going from where we were back then. It's trouble take we. You understand? All who complain about property tax, this, that, and the other. You know, Dominic, that flyer that somebody put up in the Ministry of Finance is somebody inside that day who is a UNC agent, I got to understand, trying to make the minister look irresponsible in that flyer. Because he said in Parliament on Friday that no authorization was given from either him or the PS to put up that flyer. So it have UNC operatives in certain ministries in this country, right? Trying to make the ministers as well as their permanent secretaries incomplete or irresponsible. You understand? And when I think that it's high time that laws are to be implemented to deal with these people who are trying to destabilize and cause problems in the area of treason in this country, right? Because when I saw the flyer, it has no ministry logo on it. It have no header. It have nothing on it. And you know when it's put out that, you know every nookie, cran and crevice run with that without proper investigation. Even the media houses and all too. Well, you know the UNC startup. You understand what I mean? So this is what is causing problem. It have UNC operatives in these ministries and them, not only in the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of all the various ministries in this country, the SSA, Ministry of National Security. So it have a lot of operatives that has feed the UNC opposition in this country a lot of misinformation and propaganda. So they go let it out on the population. And you know, majority of people might be, that's a majority, right? You know, some might not even get the time to sit down and read and understand. So the UNC does play on the ignorancy and the illiteracy on the minds of people in this country. You see, once you're ignorant to the truth and fact, and they don't know nothing, this is where the UNC does play on their mind and on the psyche. You understand? But with all being said and done, the same Prakash Ramadan, who was the ask the tax in 2009, right? Who owned a big mall in Florida. And he just leave here and go there and pay it, because if you don't pay it outside, they will reverse it. But they're coming down in Trinidad here for the citizens in this country and everybody else. Oh, they don't pay for that government wicked and the government evil and the government bad and the government don't care about the people and they go on and on. Right? That house I'm not down in Philippines. Why do you think she don't pay for it? Because how did you acquire that land to get a house? Majority, and look at the Dominic, majority of the people who are making noise is the UNC supporters, the activists, and the MPs. You know why? Under the 2010 to 2015 era, under the Saparia batch, right? You give out lands, you give out property without proper land requisition, right? Proper paperwork with all these things. So all these people who claim who have big high-rise building and house and mansion and business and whatever, they cannot account for these properties. Hence the reason why they are clamoring and making noise. You see, they're making the most certain noise about property tax, because when you do the evaluation on these properties, the amount of money they have to pay and how they acquire these properties, they cannot answer. So man now go get locked up, and when they get locked up, they go talk and say who get them it. So that is why every one of them battling inside there now for each other, because they don't want property tax, because they know the outcome is jail for whoever did whatever way. You understand? But in all being said and done, I support the Minister of Finance from jumping from 3% to 2%. So at least people will have a little understanding on how to go about these things. Look, my family got we got the letter, right? And our payment for the property tax for the year, for this year, as of January to December this year, is a mere $486 for the year. So in other words, it amounts to like $40.50 a month. You understand? So I try to understand. So all of them want to make noise, I want to cry and say government wicked and just pay all your blasted tax. Because all they want to live here for free and don't want to pay property tax or pay taxes. It's taxes that help our country go forward. You understand? All they want to think and want to think. But at the end of the day, people, 2025 is on the horizon. And who do he go feel? Dr. Rolly said it. Between you and the PNM, there's a stumbling block. Between you and the UNC, sorry, it's the PNM. So if all they want to play fast and go and vote out the PNM and put back these people, you see what happened in 2010, it's going to be 2025 reloaded 10 times. You understand? So sit down and think, know where you're with, know what you're doing, and let us go forward. All them sanctions that they want to call on the country, and as far as New Zealand. So you think if UNC go back there, you think any country in the world want to have any territory in Tobago? let's sit down and think about that before we do what we do. You understand? And stop playing, according to Jenny, stop playing on the ignorance and the feelings of your mind. Do what is right and let the PNM government continue the chart of success in this country. Dominic, good program. Look and listening.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good morning. Afternoon, sir.
Good day, Dominic.
Hi.
Okay, we have a delay on my rate. I'm calling to talk about the taxes. And people about it. My son in America might pay $17,000 in taxes, property tax. Might pay $11,000 a year US property tax. Or if you go to all those grocery stores, all the mama and papa, you have to put a bag. To put your profit back. That's from $10 goes right up to $1. You have to pay for the bag. Otherwise, you walk outside with your hand, or your cake come with your own bag. And some of those stores, I look to some of the grocery, and some of the farmers, baby milk, a lock and key with cash down.
Yes.
You have to ask for it. Because so bad people steal it, baby milk. At this Walmart, I could take no target. That's what they cost everything under lock. You have to ask somebody to get stuff. And all these lock and key things. So I'm thinking of that. So my daughter, I cannot even party from last to living in America.
Yes.
It went up so much twice from 1 year to the next. Electoral. I remember going, I go to at that time Obama we went to the hospital. Well, money after we had all of you paying,
Yeah.
So we had out there nearly 3 hours. And the only another Trinidadian we knew works in the hospital. Give us the eye and she tracking and we got a bit of. So we anywhere you go, I don't know how people, because that's when America they just don't know, watching too much TV. I think somebody come in there with a phone or something like that, you forget to see about that and you can reach it. I'm looking at it, Metro Morning, Canada. Every so often, every day, at the main student.
Wow.
Crime is is Metro Morning. But I was just surprised to see little cousins, really, welcome to that.
Wow.
Paying your property tax is also a way of a little paper of comfort, but it helps you to know who that, okay, you have this, that you pay tax for the property.
Right.
So it's sort of a comfort. If I explain it, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People just take a piece of property like that, but when you could prove that property, you are paying property.
Correct.
And I see there's a little glitch in the calculation of some of the property. They sort it out soon. People in other countries. But that's what now. I can't help it. Don't want to vote after. It's actually want to put some stupidness and all this money was stolen. No, come on, people. You see the polls that you're just right. When you see you put them the correct way, answer. Now, Dominic, have a good program.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
me see. Mr. Chance, call me back. Call me back. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good morning.
Hello. Hello.
Dominic,
yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
How are you doing?
I am good, and yourself?
We're one day at a time. No, I want to thank you for opening the discourse on money matters in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm hoping that you're going to continue that for probably 2 other sessions, because I think there's a need for us to have a greater understanding of how we receive this, what they call revenue, and the expenditure, and where the money comes from, and how government spends that money.
Yes.
It is very important for our people to understand that, so that they'll be able to make a better judgment. So this morning, I want to touch on to the area you spoke about this morning, and I want to just deal with the IMF report, because I think that far too many people in this country have taken very lightly this business about the IMF report. You know, in fact, the media played it for a little while and made some news, but I don't think they gave it the substance it requires, because that IMF report, the Moody's report, and the Standard & Poor's report are important for Trinidad and Tobago and the life of our people from whatever section of the society you are. Whether you are a daily paid worker or you are a worker in the high echelons of the society. That report on the economy, that report on how you're spending your money, that report on how you're receiving your money is so important. Because if you do not find yourself in the right place with that, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you have to go, like Dr. Oli says, and borrow that money. And then when you want to spend money, you have to ask permission to spend it. Do you know that there are countries in the Caribbean, before they allocate money, like what Dr. Rowley said, I'm allocated 100 million. He couldn't do that. In Jamaica and Barbados, they can't do that. They can't spend the money just like that. They have to get permission to do so, because they are in the grips and the hands of the IMF. So that is what we have to understand, how important it is for your government to manage your money well. Today, I am just going to deal with 2 parts of it, and that caught my attention when I read the IMF report. And by the way, I went up on the IMF website. I just didn't only take what the Minister of Finance said. There's a website and you go up there, and there's a whole lot of information. But I have decided I picked up just 3 bits of information that I want to place on the record on your program. The first one is, and I want you to hear this well, and I know you know it as well, but I want the people who are listening to pay attention to this. It is the first time in a decade that Trinidad and Tobago is undergoing a gradual and sustained economic growth. Our decade is 10 years, Dominic. That is since 2014, Dominic.
Yes.
And you know why? You know why that is important? Because we as a country, we spend a certain billions of dollars in different areas to help the development of our people. For example, we spent this 2024 budget, we spent $8 billion on education. Is it not done by that? We spent we are allocated $7 billion for health. You think we're printing money? No. We have to earn that. We have to sell petrochemicals and natural gas. We have to get taxation. All those resources we get, that is what gives us the ability and the capacity to spend $8 billion on education, $7 billion on health, $5.5 billion on social welfare. That is for your grandmother to get a pension and disability grant and public assistance. That is the nature of how we live in Trinidad and Tobago. So when they say that it's the first time in a decade We have seen a gradual and sustained economic growth. That did not happen like that. We have to praise the government, the Prime Minister, and his government for that. It is not happened by that. The second thing that caught my attention, which the IMF report, was that the IMF praised the government for its fiscal discipline. Fancy language, my people. You know what fiscal meaning? Money. It means how the government decides how it is going to spend the money. The government didn't choose to spend $350,000 in buying a roti for the diplomatic center. Mm-hmm. The government didn't choose to send a police and his wife to India costing $400,000. That is what is called fiscal discipline. Choosing an appropriate way how you spend your money. The government didn't decide to give people $500 if they make a baby, to support a baby. These are important things in the course of fiscal discipline. Instead, last year, the government decided to put $294 million with respect to the food and breakfast and so on for the children. That is priority spending. Nutrition for the children, $284 million, the largest money ever spent for school feeding in the last decade. That is priority spending. And the last one I want to draw the attention, which is the one that caught my attention most, and I'm going to speak a little slow with this one. The IMF commends the authority, the government, for the progress it has made in strengthening the financial integrity of the system. Big word again. You know what financial integrity means? It means that you're becoming more accountable. You're putting your matters in a position that is clean and transparent. Another means you're putting blocks in your road to prevent you from thieving. You don't want to be involved in conspiracy and bubble. So the government has put a lot of things in place in the parliament to reduce bubble, thieving, conspiracy, fraud, and all of that. And those things belong to the DNA of the UNC. So you see what's happening now? One is in the court. He's supposed to end up in March with EMBD. Another one sitting right in the front of the bench. $1 million bail. The government has put a number of things in place. And that pleases me significantly. Because a country that bleeds its money through corruption is going to surely find itself in the hands of the IMF. Because you reach a stage where you cannot sustain life in your country because corruption and thieving has become an epidemic in your country. So I want to praise the government for that statement coming from the IMF. But let me read it again. The IMF commends the government for the progress it has made in strengthening the financial integrity. Dr. Rowley told us that he has a problem with thieving and corruption, and he has gone to Parliament on many times to stop that. Thank you very kindly, Dominic, for this time.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure. Yeah, but not, you haven't seen really saying much about that IMF report. Last year they said it was because of the Ukraine-Russia war, but the price of hydrocarbons went up, and that is why. Very good. Brian. Let's see this now.
What is very important. Because your last statement there that they made is, people must understand, to run a country, you have to be able to know exactly how to manage and what to do in order to raise revenue, to increase your revenue streams.
our gas that we were selling was under the United States Henry Hub. And right now, that up to Friday, that was at $1.66. Remember, it was budgeted at $5.
Yes.
So therefore, we weren't going to be making any money. And what the UNC did, and when they didn't tell us, or when they didn't tell us, we only found out when this government got into office, that they told the upstreamers, don't worry, all this stuff now, we'll start to get money in, like, whatever take out the money, whatever making, to overdo all your loss of money that you're going to lose with respect to drilling and so on, and we're going to start to give us whatever it is in 2024. Because they could not negotiate. Kamla Prasad Bissetta did not even know that we had percentage holdings in Atlantic LNG. They didn't even know that. And if they were still in office today, we would not be getting anything for our gas. On top of that, we were facing challenges in the court from the downstream industry to the tune of over $8 billion. Remember that? Because they refused to negotiate with them and decided to give all of the gas to a Japanese company in Labre. So where would Point Lisas have been today, Dominic? Where would they have been today? And where would have Atlantic LNG been today? You know what they've been today? They would have only been using trains 2 and 3. And all of the money would have been going to BP and Shell. We would not have made any money, Dominic. You understand? That wasn't what happening before Dr. Raleigh went out there and negotiated. For we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, to get 10% across all of the trains, so that anytime a train is running, Trinidad and Tobago will begin to make money. The people, we the people, ensure that our medium-term and long-term future was taken care of, Dominic. But he didn't care about the PNM. He didn't care about himself. He cared about the people, all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And this is what, for me, that is his legacy. For me, that is that man's legacy. Because I know that when he leaves, that will always, once those trains are running and once we have gas coming from Dragonfield or wherever else, I know that we will be getting money regardless of who in power. You understand? The only bad thing is that when one government tries to raise revenue for Trinidad and Tobago, another government was trying to raise revenue for themselves and their friends. That is the only difference. You understand? And the hell with Trinidad and Tobago. But I want to warn people, because you and I have been saying it as well, Dominic, and others are saying too. Because you see, when you see, heaven forbid, and should these people get back in office, and they reduce the downgrade the dollar, US dollar, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. All of y'all who have children studying abroad, because I keep saying I have a friend whose her daughter is studying to be a doctor in Jamaica, and Jamaica has told her you have to pay us in US dollars. So she has to ensure that money goes across there in US dollars. You could imagine if the exchange rate moved from $6.79 to 1 to $12 to 1 US. You could imagine madness in this country. But you see, Dominic, and you see, apparently people are afraid of Kamla Prasad Bissetta even in our own party, because the chairman of the Cuba Talparo Regional Corporation, when he heard that the Minister of Finance was going to reduce the taxes on London building taxes down to 2%. He was angry.
He said because he had already catered to make $41 million to do things he needed to do in his corporation. But now he'll only make $28 million. So he vexed. He had already planned and calculated how much money that particular corporation was going to get in revenue from land and building taxes. But now that the Minister of Finance come and say, okay, we'll reduce it from 3% to 2%, he vexed. I wonder if he ever tell the opposition leader, his leader, that, hey, well, you're making all that noise about them taxes, so that's what we're looking forward to.
Correct.
But you never say nothing. But you know he's talking now. In other words, when you hear people like Wade Mark calling how they will repeal, we will repeal this and we will repeal, it's because their people want the taxes to benefit the various corporations, so they could do work in the corporation. You understand? But nobody is talking about that. That make the news once. That make the news once, Dominic. Nobody is talking about that. No. Dominic, when I went to America and I went into a particular hospital, the first thing the lady asked me is, do you have insurance? Where's your insurance? She didn't have to worry with me, you know. When I come for you, he says, where's your insurance? Where's your insurance? I'll never forget. I said, well, lady, that's supposed to have been organized already. She said, well, we don't have it here. What's your name? Where's your insurance? Where's your insurance? That is what I'm concerned about. In Trinidad, they walk in San Fernando General or Port of Spain General, and they could get service. They ask you for no insurance. They could get, it could take a while yet, but they will get service. But they still have, abroad, they still have to wait a little bit too. But the point is, if you don't have insurance across there, you're in trouble. Do you know, just recently, and this didn't make much news, do you know that was hacked the other day?
Yes.
But you know that they make much news, but they blame Joe Biden for that, you know. And then when you went up to do your medical, you had to type in all of your business because it didn't come up automatically because the hackers got into the system. In America, you understand? In the United States of America, they got in there. But in Trinidad, oh God, this government failed. They failed to put this, they failed to put that. You want a commission of inquiry. What's going on in TSTT? What's going on? But in America, that happened just recently. You only hear that once, brother. Once. People didn't know that. But I see it. Understand? And these are some of the things we are much better off. Idi Amin Stewart, who wants to be president of the Registered Nurses Association, every time he opens his mouth, nurses going abroad, nurses are leaving in droves. I know he should have known nurses. You know, he does be talking every time he opens his mouth. No, nurses are going abroad. They have no nurses. Going abroad to what? To that hellhole in England? Where you have to determine whether you're going to pay for your energy cost or you're going to buy food? But you won't tell people that. The minister has to continuously come and say, listen, we need more, yes, but they're not leaving in droves. But they will sell that to those who are not listening. And they'll go about and say, oh, boy, you're leaving in droves, boy, wait, look at that. Your Honorable Prime Minister is doing so much, as you're right, there's so much. I think you forgot somebody in the libraries that are being built. But the one in Diego Martin finished. There's one in Anahoketa that is being done now, and one in Mayaro.
Yes.
To educate the youth, to assist the youth. People talking about that? Huh? People talking about those things? No. They don't want to do with the money. You want to know what to do with the money? Kamla Prasad and them spend money like up to the last day. They were spending money, giving out contracts. One man went to Hawaii. I said, I want $500 million. He said, but we have no money. That was 3 months before the election. He said, I don't know what. So he went and borrowed on short-term loans. And that was problems when the government got inside there.
when this government got in, there were so many things that they had to face off the back. And then remember the Honorable Prime Minister had to fly to Jamaica to make peace in Jamaica. While the Minister of Finance was dealing with financial issues in Trinidad. And people want to go back to put them in office to kill me off this time. I will tell you, the only difference between that leader and Trump is that Trump telling us out and out what he thinks he's going to do. This one here, we know what she's going to do. You understand? But she ain't saying nothing, but we know. Because they done make track for the Gucci to run already, so we know they know what to do. Imagine, Dominic, all this, nearly 9 years now, and all these court matters can't barefoot and be determined as yet. And these people are going to come back inside of there to finish us off. Are people going to vote for that? Because some of them vex with the PNM, they're vex with Rowley. What are you vexing Rowley for? When you ask them, he don't give me nothing. What do you want? The scratching the chin, the scratching the head. You understand? We have to understand. We have sustainable growth now. Mr. Chance alluded to it. The IMF, through the IMF alluded to it. We are not in the throes of the IMF. I had to listen to Indira Ramasa talking about our growth so small compared to the other Caribbean islands. All the other Caribbean islands are in the throes of the IMF. Not once, but some of them twice. But she's talking about Trinidad and Tobago. As if nothing happening in Trinidad and Tobago. It is a crime shame that some of us seem to forget all that has been done to benefit this country under this government. We have better roads now, and there's still improvements being done. The silting of all of the rivers are being done as we speak. All the river courses is being done. Houses are being built. Attempts are being made to develop Port of Spain, the capital city, as well as San Fernando. And people talking about nothing is being done. Where the money gone? But I had a man before 2010. They had no money. Today he's a billionaire. Why did they ask see how we get our money? Why did they not ask them that? So they come, they collect and they go, and the family's good to go. Nobody not asking them anything. Nobody talking about these things. All the armchair economists have nothing good to say. But that is how it is in Trinidad and Tobago. We have to come out here now and talk about these things to ensure the people don't forget. Because 2025 is very important, as the Prime Minister said. Dominic, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. All right. I could probably take one more. 770-1763. I see the Mahasabha is still having the battle with Noelal. Let me see. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, sir, good afternoon.
I just want to pick up on, this is PM Connors, by the way. Good afternoon, sir.
Greetings.
I just wanted to pick up on Mr. Chang's point to the IMF. To ask to the public domain, point 16 of the official report on their website, talking about diversification.
Yes.
Because you hear all these cries from Dr. Sajwan Ali, Dr. Roger Hossain, the UNC's favorite go-to economists,
yes,
and experts that UNC's one main reporter, Ferrari Wuchnerine, runs to get their views on. Well, they need to quote number 16. And I quote, advancing structural reforms is key to fostering private sector participation and promoting economic diversification. The IMF staff welcomes the authorities' commitment to diversifying the economy, attracting investment, promoting employment, and increasing trade integration. They also commended for their efforts to leverage the digital economy and improve efficiency and inclusion. The authorities are encouraged to step up their efforts to enhance the business environment, tackle insecurity, and strengthen the efficiency of logistics. trade logistics. Example, customs and transport infrastructure. End quote. That basically says all the things that you see, for example, the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service that does for agriculture.
Yes.
Remember, we want to be 25% reduction in our food report bill and food security in CARICOM. You've seen the wide-scale efforts that the government is implementing resources for that, and they stand to bear fruit, right? You see, we had Mr. Chancellor talking about a bumper carnival season where we have a record visits from tourists.
Yes.
We just had an export just came in yesterday. Brought 570 tourists to our shores, right? You have seen the private sector investment working with the government's program, public-private partnership program of opening various hotels across the country. On the North Coast in Grand River, in my hometown, Arima here, in the right Mr. Center. You have seen them in Tobago. You have seen them in South. Some new hotels I saw in the Paria, I seen in Carlton Villas. So many new guest houses, hotels, places of attraction. Just saw they opened one in Savannah. A nice restaurant, a rooftop restaurant, getaway place. Right? That was on news. And also to add to the cost why the economy is going so well. I would add, I want to know if you have paid attention to TV6 News on Thursday night. They had a report stating where the construction industry, the costs have gone down since late last year. And contractors and developers, especially in the real estate industry, has been booming since late last year. Up to now, I think they had a report showing a man from a real estate firm was posting all the figures and so forth. I think for the industry, the TNT industry and Chamber of Commerce conference they had, and they were explaining, yes, there's some areas, some materials have skyrocketed like ECL, cement, but others, they have up to 15% decrease in other building materials, and the townhouse, two-story home, domestic real estate market is benefiting greatly from it. I haven't heard Dr. Sajuan Ali and they have spoken about those things. Right? And one more point to add to that, even in that conference, Dr. Terence Farrell mentioned a key point to this country's development, where no matter who's in government, mentioned that this public service commission that the government is trying to get rid of, basically because the inefficiencies it imposes on the system to get redress, number one, for bad performing public servants in the system, and also for a more timely hiring process to find qualified talent to serve in the public sector. Dr. Farrell mentioned until we get rid of that, there will be a serious problem for government to try and transform the system to be as more efficient as what we envisioned it from get-go. And hence they need constitutional reform to achieve that. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So that's the type of analysis that we require with respect to the IMF report. Instead of this, what the UNC offers you, nothing of substance. We're going to hear from Ralph Maraj right now. So let me just take this last.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Dominic, how are you?
I am good, man.
Dominic, I want to tell you something, eh? Dr. Rowley and the government to do a good thing. How much things you open up in the fund. These people have a deep hatred going right back to the days of Electoral. And let me tell you the thing, no matter what it is politics, they were angry that Dr. Electoral took this country independent some of them wanted to be under the crown of the Caucasian monarchy, which was the queen at that time, because they have an inferiority complex. Not to mention, if it is true that the East Indians supposedly outnumber the Africans by what, 2 to 1 or 1.5 or something like that, which I question that. I personally question that so-called census. Right? Because I could probably say some of the next of them could pass for Africans. Correct?
Yeah.
Right. Particularly if you live in those European countries and the United States, if you have black blood in you, you're black. Right. So, all the people who talking about this country saying nothing, and I remember when PPP took over, they started an program which was supposed to identify this country. Let me give you 2 examples, right? The mega farms, you remember the mega farms? Which was supposed to cut our import food bills.
Yep.
And with that mega farm, it's supposed to call downstream industries, those fellas with people, we supposed to have some kind of few way to distribute seeds to the farmers and them so they can plant certain crops.
Yes.
Remember the aluminum smelter plant? What was the purpose of the aluminum smelter plant, Dominic? Is it in revenue?
Yes.
And create downstream industry? Right? For example, I don't know, like creating the trucks for the rapid rail. If the rapid rail was built and we could have maintenance, it's all coming from them.
Yes.
And what was the purpose of the rapid rail? And it was supposed to ease up traffic in this country.
Correct, yes.
And give people an ease of mind so people could sleep for at least extra 2 hours. Who get up 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work.
Yes.
And now people complain about the government can't control the traffic congestion in this country when you're allowing certain foreign users and foreign car dealers to put more and more cars on the road. Some of them vehicles are even good.
People forget. And don't forget.
Standards too. Standards of specification as well.
Yes.
And what do they do with it? I have the Jupiter and Tobago, and one of them say, who is now fighting for political life, saying that when he comes into office, he will call back Sandals. When he gets support from his own party. I'm not going to go there, but I do not. Black people have a fight on the head. After a woman said that she can't continue when she because a lawyer was provided a child, and she jumped from Kenya, he went to house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Right, so that's it there for me for calls. So let me just touch quickly. Let me just take this last one. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Oh, good afternoon, sir. I just called back to mention one particular point I just forgot. I have it written down here. My apologies. The reason why I mentioned real estate, because many times on your program yourself, and when you research what are the main identifiers to determine the health of an economy, one of those, as you mentioned before, are automobile sales.
Yes.
Right? You have been seeing many automobiles flying off dealer shelves, and they are struggling to maintain inventory. Correct. Because like Honda Vezel and Nissan Note, they are flying off the dealerships like that. Now they have backlogs of orders now.
Yes.
Right? And the next identifier is the one I mentioned, real estate. Once your real estate market, the brokerage market is on a sound footing, that clearly shows that the government's handling of the economy has been sound since they're in office. And the IMF confirms that. It's going in the right trajectory. There is no way somebody in their right mind will want to remove this government, especially the business sector. If they're listening, they are making a lot of money the right way Do you remember the real estate agent 2020 bill debated and passed in Parliament?
Mm-hmm.
You remember some of the ridiculous stuff the UNC was saying? Now you're seeing the fruits of the bill.
Yes.
You have, if you go on Facebook right now, the amount of real estate companies are advertising land, and they're making sure to give you the right information of if the land is from a country approved, if it has the regional corporation approval, if it has the regular protected services approval, the acreage, what is approved for, if it's freehold land, you're making sure until you go to your attorney first, one could be provided for you. This was not happening before. Do you remember this, Mr. Roman?
Yes.
So how could somebody in their right mind want to remove a government when the IMF themselves saying that they are basically fixing the system properly, as Mr. Shan said? There are proper checks and balances being put in place to remove all the wastage and corruption. And the misdealing some of our citizens here in the system that will try to do and harp on our citizens to make the government look bad, as for one of the callers rightly mentioned before, with the property tax issue.
Yes.
Right? Do you remember on January 24th, right, there was a T6 News report by Uwashi Ruknarayan from a pensioner in Takariva?
No, I don't recall that one.
Where he says it's basically having serious problems with the preliminary evaluation he had from the commissioner evaluation. He also said he has not been visited officially by an evaluator, but he says they sent him this preliminary evaluation saying that the rental value he could get, right, per year, per annum, is $265,000. Now here's a two-story home, but when you look at the story, you can see his home is not all that upscale in terms of renovation. Yes, he renovated it, but it's not there yet. I find that very hard to believe. But let us take those figures as it is, right? And let's do the calculation. Before the government changed it to 2%, it's still 3% now, right? Right. So 265,000 divided by 12, you get $22,083 and 60 cents, I think. Right? Now you have to take 10% of that first to get a new rental value per month.
Right.
When you take that 10%, you get 19,847. Right? Now to find the property tax, you find 3% of that new rental value. And 3% of that new rental value equates to $596.70. And when you divide that by 12 to find what you're paying a month, it creates approximately $50. So even that valuation he gets, if it was official, he had nothing to worry about. But the news reporter, obviously, and the agents in the ministry deliberately created a misinformation and put in figures that are clearly wrong to basically send up the pensioner pressure wrongfully to make it look that this is draconian, this is wrong. And this was further exemplified with the Prime Minister's conversation with the people Tuesday ago when he was in San Fernando. And those like businessmen said in his community, why somebody with a smaller yard but fully renovated upscale paying more tax than a neighbor with a larger yard but not as fully renovated as a smaller yard. But the Prime Minister said, well, I think this is where you have, this is easy because if the person's yard who is smaller is totally renovated and look at nice, even serves the next door neighbor to that person has a bigger yard, but the house is not all that upscale or renovated. There's no way that the person could charge a higher rent than a person with a smaller yard, but the house is in a lot more tipped-up condition. Right?
Yes.
So he was suggesting that the Prime Minister should slow down on it and implement the property tax by 50%, then move the way gradually. But I disagree with that, because I believe he knows very well how the system operates. And even still, they might be charged on how the conditions of your home is, your location, or whatever, what have you. The formula would show that whatever valuation preliminary that they have gotten would not equate to what the actual amount they'll have to pay. I guarantee that. And there's clearly too many misinformation, too many agency systems trying to make the system onto one that doesn't exist. And it's about time that the Ministry of Finance have some kind of searching for these agents and reprimand them, because they are out here working very hard and through the media to help the UNC get some kind of traction, because they notice they have nothing to talk about the economy, nothing to talk about other things, how the government handling the healthcare system, how they handling agriculture. You notice they talk about diversification. Remember when both warriors there, everything is about diversification. You're not hearing that from Dr. Sajwan Ali. You're not hearing it from Dr. Hossain anymore. It is happening. The only topic they talk about is crime, and property tax and revenue authority. That's all they're attacking. So I just wanted to bring those final points to you, sir. Thank you very much for taking my call again.
No problem. Thank you. Right. So let me just tell you guys, thank you for joining me. But this morning, always a pleasure. Right. So there's just one quick thing I wanted to touch on that I heard on that program on Friday, right? And it had to do with a story that was carried in on one of the evening news, one of those stations, about a woman. Well, they interviewed some persons. I can't remember the name of the HDC housing development, where keys were given out to some of the persons, first-time homeowners. They got keys for HDC houses, and apparently the houses, the electricity wasn't yet connected, right? Now the lady in the report, she said, when HDC invited them to come to see the houses before they received the keys, they were told that the houses did not have electricity and that the electricity connection would be facilitated in about 2 weeks or so on, right? So they did a walkthrough. They understood that the houses did not have electricity. Subsequent to that, about a week or two afterwards, they had a key distribution ceremony. And from what I understand, they got the keys, but the electricity still wasn't yet connected, right? So they were told, they would get it. And then the woman is coming. She came now, and the media went an interview, and she said, up to now, 5 months later or whatever, they still haven't gotten electricity and the like. Well, boy, they went to tongue on that. To bad talk the government, and it's such a gimmick thing. And that was just for the people to vote for the government for the election, because they gave them the keys in July the 14th or something. So, and the election was August the 14th. And then the HEC came afterwards and tell them to bring back the keys because the electricity and all of this. In the first place, the people were not able to vote in that community, right? Because the date for you to change your address for the purpose of the election would have already gone. The 14th is the 14th of July, and the election was the 14th of August, right? But the issue here is this. Camille Robinson-Regis is the Minister of Housing. She's not the Minister of HDC. She's the Minister of Housing. HDC is just one of several state enterprises that falls under the Ministry of Housing, right? In fact, they just created 3 brand new companies to treat with issues related to HDC. The Home Mortgage Bank, TTMF, all of these entities also fall under the Ministry of Housing. So Camille Robinson-Regis has responsibility for all of these entities. She doesn't only deal with HDC alone. But in any event, for the electricity to be connected to the homes, it has to be inspected first by the Electoral Inspectorate, which is a unit or a department based in the Ministry of Public Utilities, not the Ministry of Housing. So in any event, HDC and the Ministry of Housing still has to liaise with the Ministry of Public Utilities to facilitate the WASA connection, to facilitate the electricity connection, and so on. The inspectorate have a job to do. When they go and they inspect these houses, Then they pass the inspection and so on. They send whatever paperwork to the HEC. The HEC will then contact TNTech, and TNTech will go and do what it is that they have to do. But the HEC can't do anything unless the inspectorate does. Camille Robinson Regis cannot pick up the phone, call the electrical inspectorate and tell them, go and inspect this housing development so we can connect it. She can't do that because that is not her ministry, right? That is Marvin Gonzalez's ministry. But there is a process to follow because the electrical inspectorate is not just for public housing, it's not just for HDC. They do inspections as well for the private sector, right? So when these people have all these jobs to do, if they're not focused on how many electrical inspectors you probably have. If you have maybe 20, 25 having to do all of these housing units for the HDC and then private as well, you would understand the people have a significant workload. Now, what the HDC is building houses. And the last thing that they need to be able for persons to occupy these houses for the electricity connection. The HEC can't just sit down. We building houses, right? So housing, the Ministry of Housing did what they're supposed to do. The HEC did what they're supposed to do, but they are waiting on another ministry to now come and do what they have to do to be able to connect, to provide electrical connection. What the HEC is supposed to do. We build houses, it finished, and all we need is the electrical connection. So don't give out the keys. Just keep it there, and whenever the electrical inspectorate have time to go and check the houses so that we could get the electricity connection, they should do that. This is the same problem they had when Mr. Manning was building houses. Remember what the UNC say? Manning and the PNM building house and they're not giving it up. All over the country, have a set of house just sit down there and they're giving it to nobody. The people, they cannot sit down and wait until the inspectorate does what they have to do, or when the Ministry of Public Utilities gets around to doing what it is that they have to do. It's all over the place, all over the country. HTC has housing developments that are ready to be distributed. So they gave the people the keys on the understanding that, look, this is the last thing, but we know we're giving you the keys today, right? But we do expect that you're going to move in right away. In any event, most of these houses are shells. So you would want to put in your own tile, your own cupboards, and we expect that by the time you're finished doing all of these things, perhaps the electrical connection will be made and you will have the electricity. In the very same news clip, the woman said that HTC offered them alternative accommodation to give them a housing unit in another housing development that was completed, had water, electricity, and everything. And she said, her family said, no, they don't want to move. They're happy in Carlson Field, right? That's the name of the thing. They're happy there. The house that they got, they're good with that, and they want to stay there. Right? But they were given an opportunity to go elsewhere that was ready for occupation, and they chose to stay there. But they find that, okay, taken too long, and granted, but that is not the fault of the HDC. So when I hear them talking about it's the minister, and it's the minister's fault, and the minister's supposed to know what's going on in her ministry and whatnot, the minister is not responsible for the day-to-day management of the HDC. She's the Minister of Housing. And as I mentioned, you have a number of other state enterprises that report to her. Her entire day is not focused on HDC and what HDC is doing. That is why you have a CEO of HDC who probably making, or managing director, who probably making more money than the minister. That is what their job is for. That is why you have management. That is why you have an administration who's responsible for the day-to-day management of the HDC. The minister plays a ceremonial role largely because it is really the permanent secretary who runs the ministry. The minister deals with policy. The cabinet makes a decision. It is for the minister to sit with her peers, deputy peers, the technocrats in the ministry, and whoever, articulate government policy for them to execute it. But that is not her responsibility to go and sit down in a HEC office all day and see, okay, what's happening with this project, and what's going on with that one, and what's going on with that one, and we give out keys for this, and they get electricity here, and do all of these different things. That is not the minister's responsibility. But listening to them on that radio station on Friday, oh, the minister should resign, and the minister, rubbish. If the HGC and the Ministry of Housing have done their part, the minister cannot go and rough up Marvin Gonzalez or rough up the Ministry of Public Utilities to tell them go on and electrify this particular housing development, because the HGC has others that they're dealing with as well. So the request would have been sent to the electrical inspectorate, and it is for them to roster their inspectors and give them the work schedule and tell them, well, look, we have this development, but we have 5, 6, 10 HGC developments we need to go and inspect. So, and they can't do it in one day, because imagine that there is a process. So is it that they're supposed to put the private sector on hold and say, well, here, what now? We know you apply for electricity and you need an inspector to come back, but you gotta wait a month because right now we're dealing with HTC. So forget all that. They need to be able to balance and provide the service to everybody. But the mere fact that the lady said they were offered alternative accommodation and she said no, they don't want that. They want to stay where they are. But now we complain. I mean, I understand you want to move into your house here. You probably tell your landlord, well, look, so, whatever is the case, maybe. But at the end of the day, we need to understand that not everything can happen instantly. You were luckier than most that you got an HTC unit. You have people who've been waiting for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years for a unit. You were lucky enough to get one. Yes, you're frustrated, but there's a process to follow. That is not the only HTC housing development that requires inspection. So they will get to you. Now, when HTC was contacted, they said in about 2 weeks' time, or by next week or so, the electrical inspector to come do it as they had to do, and then TNTech will come and give them connection. But oh gosh, I don't know. At every little thing, these guys quick to jump on that to create a situation to say the government oppressing. How that is government oppressing poor people, I don't understand. How is that oppressing? The people get a HTC unit, they're luckier than most, but that is oppression? Look, folks, we will discuss that more at a later date, right? Let me see here. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Again, Daniela Williams, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your birthday, that you got everything that you wanted, and so much more. And we will chat again on Tuesday morning, God's willing. Yeah, so thank you all so much. And we will see what will transpire between now and then. I'll see if I can listen to the nonsense tomorrow night and report on that as well. Yeah, so thank you all, guys. Terry says that was the decision to accept the house. Correct. But when, they want to say, oh, the HSC giving people house with no electricity and how they expect people, and the woman say her children eyes damaged because they don't have electricity and they have to do their homework and all this kind of thing. Okay. But the same people talking that when Kamala Persad wanted to sell the housing units to the people in East Dry River for $100, right? Come, well, living in these apartments for how much donkey years, come and buy it and absolve HDC of any responsibility for maintenance. Those very same housing units that this administration has now had to tear down to build over because the state that they were in. But she was willing to sell these people these derelict housing units for $100, right? While you're giving UNC people 100 houses a month, 100 houses a week or a month or whatever, 100 a week or whatever, right? Giving it out to who? But you wanted to give these people in East Dry River, come and buy the house for $100. Take that. But anything go wrong, HEC is no longer responsible for it. Right, but that's how they love East Dry River people, and that's how they love people from that area. But you have certain PNM activists who talking for them now. Folks, yeah, yes, Waleed, she said the children eyes damaged because however they had to use whatever lighting facility they have to use to do their homework in the interim while they're waiting for TNTech to come and give them a connection. Good week. Yes. Justin says, many people get HEC houses fixed up nice. That's the thing. It have plenty of people, and this is not to say this is a normal thing that every time the HEC hands out keys that the people go and the houses don't have electricity. They're building houses at a record pace, and you would appreciate that as fast as the HEC is building, their capacity is limited. They don't have responsibility for the electrification of the homes. And the HTC cannot simply sit down and have house in stock and not give it out because we're waiting for the electrical inspector to do their work and people need the houses. So at least people anxious, they want to know what's going on. Every minute they only call in. I call in to find out because my name and allocation, they are talking about my name and allocation and our unit was supposed to be allocated, but I ain't hear nothing. So if every day you're calling and you're calling every week and the people fed up, yes, you were allocated a house, but we're waiting for the inspector to do. All right, come and get your keys. You have your keys in hand, so you're sure you have a unit. Relax yourself now. Relax yourself. It's just for that for us to do. What ease us up. We're tired of you only calling every day to find out what is going on. You have your keys in hand, so you know you have a unit assigned to you. Right. You could drive past every day, you could go and open the door, go inside, smell it, touch the walls. Right, this is yours. You're just waiting for the electricity to thing. Say thank God now. Because you still have people that even reach that far. And their applications probably inside longer than yours. But because you were lucky with the lottery system, you get through and they're still waiting. Oh gosh, some people get, I don't know now. Folks, thank you all so much. We will chat again on Tuesday.